Zhuo Yishuan saw her aggrieved and angry gaze and smiled sheepishly. Sobbing, Xiao Xia turned to look at Simp. Man, Zhuo Yishuan snatched the pork aorta you picked up for me. In the face of pork aorta, friendship was so fragile. Simp, who had witnessed the whole scene, smiled, her dimples deepening. The shrimp paste is ready. Go get some. Hearing this, Xiao Xia's fighting spirit was rekindled. This time, if she got the shrimp paste, she definitely wouldn't share it with Zhuo Yishuan. During the Great Food Snatching War, you could really see the difference between singles and couples. Singles fought alone, while couples divided the labor and cooperated. Xiao Xia had just managed to scoop up a ball of shrimp paste and was feeling triumphant. Just then, she saw Wei Bo use a strainer ladle to scoop up 3 balls of shrimp paste in a row. Simp immediately held her bowl forward, and the 3 pieces landed smoothly inside. Immediately after, Wei Bo put some seaweed sprouts in the ladle. In the time it took them to eat the shrimp paste, 8 seconds passed, and a scoop of 8-second seaweed sprouts went into both their bowls. The two of them cooperated so seamlessly that she had absolutely no chance to snatch any food. Xiao Xia, sobi. It's all Nan Liao's fault. It's all Nan Liao's fault. If Nan Liao hadn't gotten a guaranteed admission to Jing University, how would she have ended up in a situation where she had to fight alone? A piece of advice for everyone. Don't get into a long-distance relationship, or you won't even be able to snatch food during hot pot. Xiao Xia. Zhuo Yishuan sidled over, a serious look on her face. Let's form an alliance. I've observed that only by cooperating can 2 people get the good stuff at this table. Xiao Xia. Okay. Setting aside the grudge over the stolen pork aorta, they formed a temporary alliance, all to face the next wave of battle, the war for duck intestines. The hot pot meal was even more intense than the afternoon sports match. Wei Bo, relying on his seamless coordination with classmate Xia, still easily took home the MVP award. He managed to snatch every dish. Wei Bo was very satisfied with his performance. Winning is everything. You have to win at sports, and you have to win at snatching food. The university students' food snatching war could be divided into several stages. The first stage was when the battle was at its most intense. In the second stage, once everyone was about 70 or 80% full, the battle would gradually calm down, and they would chat while they ate. In the final stage, after the frenzy, they'd realize there was still a lot of food left, but they were already full. This was when everyone would display the traditional virtue of politely deferring to one another. Polite phrases like "you have this" and "you can finish this, right?" would emerge endlessly. Right now, they had moved on to the second stage, and everyone had begun to eat and chat at a leisurely pace. When the conversation turned to the afternoon's game, everyone lavished praise on Wei Bo and Simp performance, feeling a shared sense of glory. As they chatted, Xiao Xia brought up the national championship. It's starting soon, too. Meng Wei and the others have already gone to prepare for it. From her tone, Wei Bo immediately guessed. You know Meng Wei? Meng Wei was High University's badminton star. At his peak, he had reached the top 4 in the World Championships. Xiao Xia nodded. Of course. Not only do I know Meng Wei, I also know Wu Yetong, Yin Xiangfei, and Shi Ping. Xiao Xia reeled off a long list of names, as if ordering dishes from menu. Each name was more famous than the last. They were either top athletes in one sport or Olympic champions in another. That's right, Olympic champions also have to go to university. Elite athletes and even Olympic champions from Haicheng and nearby provinces and cities often chose to complete their studies at High University. However, these famous figures rarely made public appearances on campus and tended to be low-key during classes. Because of this, Wei Bo was even more impressed with Xiao Xia's ability to make friends. Bye-bye, Xiao Xia asked curiously. If a student-athlete like Meng Wei entered the school's badminton tournament, would you still sign up? Hearing this, Simp tilted her head and looked at Wei Bo. She thought he would say no. Wei Bo said decisively, I wouldn't. Xiao Xia's eyes widened. Wow, you really are the same as when you were a kid. You won't participate if you're not confident. Wei Bo laughed. That's not it. I'm not confident about next week's final either, but that's a completely different thing from going in as cannon fodder to get crushed by an expert. It's called knowing your own limitations. Take his singing career, for example. In the realm of online singers, he felt his songwriting ability and vocal skills were among the best. But if you threw him onto a show like The Singer, wouldn't he be eliminated in the first round? He wasn't interested in being a one-round wonder. Whatever he did, whatever hobby he pursued, he liked for it to go smoothly and to feel a sense of accomplishment. Xiao Xia pouted and looked at Siem Yuman again. Man, what about you? Would you sign up? If Bye Bye doesn't participate, you could enter the singles. Siem Yuman, I wouldn't. What's the fun in singles? Mixed doubles is what's fun. Xiao Xia grumbled. You're just biased towards him. Siem Yuman gave her a small, dimpled smile. The meal was a lively affair. After they finished eating, Zhou Yin suggested they go to an escape room. Shen Yuan, Sun Xiao, and the others all wanted to go. Siem Yuman was fine either way. She looked at Wei Bo. Wei Bo cleared his throat. I'm a bit tired. You guys go ahead. Siem Yuman nodded. I'm a little tired too. Because they had just played a match in the afternoon, the others didn't press them further. Zhou Yin, there's one on the first basement level. Yuan and I have been. It's pretty fun. Xiao Xia. Okay, let's go to that one then. The group started to buy group tickets, while Wei Bai and Siem Yuman prepared to go home. Just as they were about to leave, Xiao Xia suddenly darted to Siem Yuman's side, stood on her tiptoes, and said mysteriously, Bye Bye is afraid of ghosts. When we went to a haunted house as kids, he refused to go in. Surprise flashed across Siem Yuman's face. Then she put on a straight face and said seriously, He's not afraid of ghosts. We often watch horror movies together. The innocent Xiao Xia immediately believed her. Really? Bye Bye isn't afraid of ghosts anymore. Siem Yuman nodded. MHM. Wei Bai, listening on the side, was speechless. What's wrong with being afraid of ghosts? Can't people be afraid of ghosts? Can people not be afraid of ghosts? There was no need for Miss Xia to cover for him like this. He was afraid of ghosts, openly and squarely. So Wei Bai took Miss Xia's hand and, openly and squarely, quickly left this group of lunatics. Lao Zhou told me after he went last time, Wei Bai quickened his pace, that escape room on the first basement level is a haunted house hybrid. It's especially terrifying. That's not what Zhou Yin originally said. He said it was exciting and fun. But Wei Bai automatically translated it. Siem Yuman understood him. The two took a taxi home. After showering and changing their clothes, they leaned on the sofa and chatted. Why are you afraid of ghosts? Siem Yuman asked. Wei Bai really wanted to brazenly say that he wasn't afraid of ghosts. But based on Miss Xia's understanding of him, he probably wouldn't be able to fool her. So he told the truth. When I was in the 3rd or 4th grade of elementary school, I went to my cousin's place to play, and it just so happened that my cousin was watching a horror movie. The bride's stomach suddenly split open, and it was full of serrated teeth. Inside, 7 or 8 terrifying-looking babies, covered in black ash, were scrambling to get out and grab living people to eat. I was so scared at the time that I had nightmares after I got home, and even got a fever. Ever since then, I've been a little traumatized by it. Siem Yuman wrapped her arms around his waist, rested her head on his shoulder, and said softly, I have a ghost exorcising method that I never share, but because Little Turtle is an insider, I'll teach it to you. Wei Bai, go on. I'm listening to what nonsense you're about to spout. Siem Yuman, do you think ghosts really exist? Wei Bai, probably, but you don't encounter them easily. Siem Yuman, if ghosts really exist, it means that people don't completely disappear after death. Siem Yuman, then why should we fear death? If we don't fear death, why should we be afraid of ghosts? Afraid it'll bite me? Like a dog biting me. Wei Bai listened seriously as she spouted nonsense with a straight face. Siem Yuman continued very seriously. There's a song called When I Grow Up, I'll Become You. If you meet a ghost, you have to tell it. If you dare to mess with me, I won't let you go even when I'm a ghost. Wei Bai laughed so hard his stomach hurt. But Siem Yuman still had a straight face, which made Wei Bai laugh even harder. After laughing for a while, he finally managed to calm down, and Wei Bai also said with a straight face, Miss Xia, there's a logical loophole in your ghost exorcising method. Even if there are ghosts, it's not a given that people will become ghosts after they die, right? Siem Yuman blinked. Killed by a ghost, isn't that enough to fill one with overwhelming resentment? It's possible, definitely possible. Wei Bai was at a loss. At this moment, It seemed like there wasn't a big problem with this logic. But why were they discussing ghosts so solemnly? Because between lovers, you have to talk a lot of nonsense together. Being in love is two people getting together and whispering nonsense. Weibai liked to say meaningful or meaningless things with Miss Xie. He had to win in many things, and he would only do things if they were meaningful. Only when he was with Miss Xie did meaningless chats become meaningful. Being together like this, wasting time, was already very, very happy. As time was being wasted, Weibai suddenly remembered something very important. This afternoon, at the badminton court, Weibai hugged her a little tighter and said in a low voice, "How's your staff technique?" Xian Yumin pressed her head against his chest, her voice taking a melodious turn. It was Monday again, and an 8 a.m. class again. Weibai yawned repeatedly. Pan Kong was surprised. "You didn't go to the escape room with us yesterday. Didn't you go back to rest early? Why are you so sleepy?" Weibai, maybe it's the weather. The weather was a bit gloomy today, and he almost couldn't get up this morning. But he knew that the reason he was so sleepy now was that he had been up very late last night. As for what they were up to and the specifics of how they were up to it, it was not convenient to go into detail. After yawning for half the class, Weibai couldn't take it anymore and simply fell asleep. Just like that, 10-odd minutes passed. Student number 11, please answer this question. In his sleep, he suddenly heard a voice. Someone's being called on to answer question, right? Who was number 11 again? Groggy, Weibai opened his eyes. He glanced over and saw that next to him, Zhou Yan was also sleeping soundly. Who was number 11 again? Weibai saw Pan Kang's anxious face as he frantically poked Zhou Yan, and it suddenly dawned on him. Number 11 is Zhou Yan. He immediately sat up straight and looked at the teacher on the podium. The teacher wore a faint, ambiguous smile. Obviously, the teacher had seen Zhou Yan sleeping. Then came the question. If the teacher saw Zhou Yan sleeping, could he have possibly missed him sleeping too? This teacher, Mr. Chun, had taught them Introduction to Computer Science last semester and was now teaching Computer Organization and Architecture this semester. He had long since matched names to faces. Weibai accidentally met Mr. Chen's gaze and then silently lowered his head. He rarely had moments like this, where he had to look away after making eye contact with a teacher. But life is always full of little accidents. For instance, the 10-odd minutes he slept in class today were a complete accident. Unfortunately, even though he had looked away so quickly, Mr. Chun didn't let him off the hook. Well then, Weibai, why don't you answer the question for student number 11? Weibai resignedly stood up. Sir, I didn't quite hear the question. Could you please repeat it? Mr. Chun, with that same faint smile, asked, which has a greater time cost to handle, a cache miss or a page fault? And why? Weibai breathed a sigh of relief. A page fault has a greater time cost. The reasons are as follows. 1. For a cache miss, the access speed of main memory is only 10 to 100 times that of the cache, a relatively small difference in speed. After answering the entire question in one go, Weibai straightened his back with confidence. Mr. Chin smiled. Pay attention to the questions from now on. Class dismissed. We'll continue in 10 minutes. The moment those words were spoken, Zhou Yan sat bolt upright, as if a switch had been flipped, his face full of excitement. Class is over. The whole class burst out laughing. Weibai. Zhou Yan was bewildered. What's wrong? Weibai shook his head. Nothing. Having spent a lot of time together, he had gradually come to accept Zhou Yan's special skill, only hearing what he wanted to hear to sleep. For example, class is over or time to eat. Finally, the day's classes were over. During the last period, Zhou Yan was asleep again. Weibai, time to eat. Zhou Yan woke up instantly. Eat? Let's go, let's go. Weibai stood up, his face expressionless. What should we eat? Bibimbap with roasted meat. Crispy rice pot. Let's get the duck leg rice. In the end, Weibai had the crispy rice pot. Zhou Yan and Ningbo Chao had duck leg rice, and Pan Kong ate the bibimbap with roasted meat. While they ate, they all played on their phones. It was quiet until Zhou Yan suddenly exclaimed, Brother Bai, the university's Weibo posted about you. Weibai looked up. Weibo. He hadn't even recorded his alumni stories segment yet. What would the university's official account post about him? A teaser? He took Zhou Yan's phone and glanced at it. It was a photo with the caption, Every leap into the air is the image of youth. The photo showed his and classmate Xie's silhouettes from yesterday's badminton match. At that moment, classmate Xie was guarding the front of the net while he was in the middle of a jump smash. You had to admit, even though their faces weren't visible, the photo had a great atmosphere. Wei Bai handed the phone back to Zhou Yin and opened his own Weibo to take another look. This time, he first saved the photo, then scrolled through the comments. Most of them were comments praising how good the two silhouettes looked. There were also some high university students pointing out in the comments that this was the campus belle and the department hottie of the computer science department. Wei Bai stared stunned. The department hottie? Who? Him? No. I mean, although everyone has their own taste, in a situation like this, couldn't they just call him the campus hottie? Yes, he admitted there were a lot of handsome guys at high university, and he hadn't achieved the same kind of overwhelming dominance as classmate Xie. But can a university only have one campus hottie? Who made that rule? Wei Bai was very resentful of the department hottie title, so he screenshotted the photo and the comments and sent them to classmate Xie. Classmate Xie, as expected, understood him completely and replied directly. Department hottie? Who voted for that? Campus hottie is more like it. That felt better. Wei Bai let out a breath of frustration. Admittedly, he wasn't the type to be overly concerned with his appearance. But campus belle and campus hottie, the two titles just looked right together. After dinner, he went back to the dorm to work for a bit. At 8 in the evening, Wei Bai changed into his sportswear, grabbed his racket and shuttlecocks, and headed out. He was going to find classmate Xie and then head to the badminton court to practice. They had already agreed to play for 2 hours every night this week to prepare for the weekend's final match. In the evening, as Wei Bai walked towards Building 2 with his racket, he suddenly felt that this scene overlapped with the times he used to go from Building 60 to Building 59 to find classmate Xie. Before, it was to study together. Now it was to practice badminton together. In any case, he and classmate Xie were lovers, as well as comrades in arms fighting side by side. The feeling of improving together with his lover was truly wonderful. He arrived at the base of Building 2. Wei Bai saw that classmate Xie was already standing under a streetlight, waiting for him. Classmate Xie, where's your racket? Wei Bai asked with a smile as he walked over. Xian Yuman blinked. Isn't it with you? Wei Bai grinned. Nope. Xian Yuman, liar. Wei Bai, sigh, classmate Xie, why must you always be so clever and wise? Xian Yuman, I just know you particularly well. Lately, they have been keeping both of their rackets together. The little turtle was a very reliable little turtle. He would never forget to bring the rackets. At the same time, the little turtle was also a little turtle who loved to joke around and tease her. Xian Yuman wasn't falling for it. Although they called it practicing, it was basically Wei Bai acting as the student. His teacher, of course, was classmate Xie. Teacher Xie was truly professional, which made Wei Bai curious about her childhood. Classmate Xie, does your day have 48 hours? How else could you have learned so many things? Xian Yuman replied with a straight face, 24 hours, but I don't sleep. Wei Bai was surprised. For real? Xian Yuman's eyelashes fluttered slightly. It's a lot. Wei Bai laughed. Of course, he knew it wasn't true. Everyone has 24 hours in a day and needs to sleep. It was just that classmate Xie's 24 hours during her childhood were much tougher than the average person's. Classmate Xie, when you were little, did you ever cry and refuse to go to your lessons? Wei Bai asked. After thinking back carefully, Xian Yuman answered, never. Wei Bai was astonished. Not even once. Xian Yuman, not even once. After a pause, she added, it wasn't because complaining was useless, but because I enjoyed going. At first, Wei Bai didn't quite understand. After a moment of thought, it dawned on him. Right? Children think differently from adults. From an adult's perspective, learning so many things at such a young age seems exhausting. But some children don't see it that way. They are full of curiosity and enjoy learning, exploring, and being challenged. Wei Bai had been like that as a child too. His approach was to try a bit of everything, and if he wasn't good at it, he would just mess around or give up entirely. But classmate Xie was the type of person who, even in a field she wasn't skilled in, would strive to achieve some results. This was classmate Xie's resilience, which Wei Bai both admired and was proud of. After practicing a while longer, the two held hands and slowly walked back to the dorms. Every day passed like this until the weekend. This weekend was the final for the Honey Snow Cup Badminton League. Just like last week, the singles matches were on Saturday and the doubles were on Sunday. On Saturday, neither Wei Bai nor Siam went to watch the matches. Instead, they studied, worked, and trained as usual. On Sunday afternoon, they changed into their matching badminton outfits and headed to the gymnasium. As soon as he entered the gymnasium, Wei Bai felt the difference in atmosphere from the preliminary rounds. There were more people, but it was much more orderly. The spectators were no longer standing around in small groups, but were seated in the stands, organized by their academic departments. Wei Bai and Siam both received messages that their dorm mates were all sitting in the mathematics department section, as it was closer to the courts. Wei Bai located the mathematics department section, saw Zhou Yin and the others sitting together, and waved from a distance. Siam also raised her arm and gave a little wave. Right after that, her pupils suddenly dilated, because she saw Zhou Yishuan and Xiao Xia suddenly stand up, each holding one end of a long red banner. The characters were huge, and Siam could see them clearly. Hot pot, instant noodles, bobo chicken, bye-bye and man will win first place. She couldn't understand. How could they hold up such an illogical and embarrassing slogan? She leaned close to Wei Bai and whispered, "I'm actually a little disgusted with my friends." "Is that wrong?" "Wei Bai, they deserve to be." What on earth was hot pot, instant noodles, bobo chicken? Where was Sun Xiao? Where was her inspiring writing? Whose idea was this banner anyway? After a single glance, both of them turned around in unison. "We don't know those people. They're strangers." In the stands, Zhou Yishuan's face was burning. She tried to negotiate with Sun Xiao, who was sitting next to her. Xiao, how about you hold the banner for a while?" Sun Xiao looked horrified. "No way. You two, get away from me." From a moment she saw Xiao Xia pull out that banner. Her vision had gone dark, and she had tried to temporarily end her friendship with her. Only Zhuizhua was easygoing enough to be worn down by Xiao Xia and agree to help hold the banner. And now, Zhuizhua wanted her to do this humiliating thing? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Among the group, only Xiao Xia was completely at ease. "I thought about it all night to come up with this line. Doesn't it rhyme? I'm a woman who loves listening to rap. Isn't what I wrote this time better than most rap songs?" Everyone was speechless for a moment. Xiao Xia's words were too sharp. They found themselves unable to refute her. Seeing she had the upper hand, Xiao Xia continued, "We can't hold this banner forever. I brought tape. Let's stick it to the chairs in the first row." Again, everyone was silent. In the end, it was Zhou Yishuan who helped Xiao Xia put up the banner. She felt that sticking on the back of a chair was better than having to hold it. After they finished, she let out a deep sigh of relief. Sun Xiao whispered, "I suspect Xiao Xia wanted to tape up the banner from the start. She was afraid we wouldn't agree, so she first proposed having one person hold it with her." Zhou Yishuan's eyes widened. She turned to look at Xiao Xia, her eyes full of accusation. "Xiao Xia, strategy. This is called strategy." Zhou Yishuan bit her lip, took out her small notebook, and started writing. Xiao Xia said smugly, "See? I have things Zhuizhua can learn from too." Sun Xiao, "I can't take it anymore. I really want to punch you." Xiao Xia, "Come on then. Bring it on." Shen Yueyuan also joined the fray, and the group dissolved into playful chaos. It wasn't until Zhou Yin shouted that the match seemed about to start. Everyone instantly sat up straight, craning their necks to look at the court. This week's competition format was completely different from last week's. First was the group round robin. There were 38 pairs of contestants from the 19 schools of Haida University's Donqiao campus. They were randomly divided into 8 groups, 6 groups of 5 teams, and 2 groups of 4 teams. They would compete in a round robin within their group, meaning each team had to play against every other team in their group once. The format was a 1-game, 11-point system. Points were calculated based on wins and losses, and the top team from each group would advance to the knockout stage. Wei Bo and Siam were in Group 2, which had a total of 5 mixed doubles teams. The pace of the round robin was extremely fast. The quickest matches were over in as little as 5 minutes. With 3 wins and 1 loss, Wei Bo and Siam successfully advanced to the knockout stage as the top team in their group. Seeing Wei Bo and Simp win their final qualifying match, Zhou Yan, in the audience, was so happy he threw his head back and roared like an ape man. At the referee's table, Zhao Yuan was also quite pleased. Old Dai, I think you're definitely treating me to dinner today. Dai Luan, what's the hurry? The qualifying stage has only just ended, hasn't it? Zhao Yuan laughed. You can already see the signs from their performance in the qualifiers. Dai Luan snorted. I think that team in red is stronger. Zhao Yuan. Yes, they're both very strong. However, he felt Wei Bo and Simp were the stronger pair. As individuals, they might not achieve much in singles, but in mixed doubles, it was a completely different story. Mixed doubles is all about coordination, and their coordination and chemistry were almost on par with some professional players. Moreover, Zhao Yuan had been paying close attention to them and noticed that, compared to last week, their playstyle had become more diversified. They no longer relied solely on heavy smashes followed by net kills, but often used drop shots from the backcourt followed by quick rush to the net to score, or engaged in fast flat drives. It seemed they had practiced a lot this week. They were certainly still a long way from handling professional competitions, but for this kind of campus tournament, Zhao Yuan felt it was more than enough. Because compared to technique, coordination is what's truly difficult to develop in a short period. Next up are the quarterfinals. A 21-point, best-of-3 game system. The venue began to fill with screams and shouts. Wei Bo could distinguish Zhou Yan's voice as the loudest and most piercing. He could hear every single word he yelled with perfect clarity. Brother Bo is incredible. Sister Man is incredible. Crush them. We will win. Besides Zhou Yan's voice, there were other shouts as well. Since most of the spectators were friends and family, the cheering gradually took on a competitive edge. Win it for me, old men. The School of Economics will win. Marx will be victorious. Huh, Marx? They must mean the School of Marxism, right? Wei Bo said to Simp. The people from a school of Marxism have such an advantage with their cheer. When they shout that, it's strangely intimidating. Which pair is from the school of Marxism? Don't tell me they drew number 1. Same as us? Wei Bo had a feeling they were. Just now, he had seen that pair wave in the direction of the school of Marxism supporters. They looked pretty stylish doing it. It seemed their opponents in the quarterfinals were not to be underestimated. The match was about to begin. The guy from the school of Marxism walked over to shake Wei Bo's hand. Bro, you're a lucky man. Sometimes, in a single meeting with a conversation of less than 10 words, you can tell if someone has good or bad intentions. Yes, it seemed like the guy was complimenting his girlfriend on her looks. But his expression, his attitude, his tone, they all made one feel very uncomfortable. Was Wei Bo being too sensitive? No, he always trusted his intuition. He didn't speak and returned to Simp side. Let's crush them. Simp didn't ask why, just nodded in agreement. The whistle blew, and the round of 16 began. For the first point, Simp chose to serve. The shuttlecock skimmed over the net. The girl on the other side reached out her racket to receive it, but could only watch as the shuttlecock brushed the bottom edge of her racket and fell straight down. The crowd erupted in an instant to score a point right at the beginning. How dominant was that? The atmosphere of the entire court was brought to a climax by this single shot. Zhou Yan shouted, awesome, until his throat was raw. Even someone as reserved as Ning Buochao couldn't help but roar, and his shouts grew louder and louder. The players' abilities ignited the cheers, and the enthusiastic support in turn gave the players positive feedback. Wei Bo and Simp both received this immense positive feedback, and from the round of 16, they played with fighting spirit. The shuttlecock flew from high in the air. Wei Bo leaped up from the backcourt and smashed the shuttlecock hard into the opponent's left-hand opening. The opponent returned with a backhand drop shot, sending the ball towards the front of the net. This was a very technical shot with a strong backspin, and it dropped rapidly as soon as it crossed the net. This kind of shot was extremely difficult to return. In his peripheral vision, Wei Bo saw the opposing pair seemingly already preparing to high-five. But classmate Xie was a step faster. She lowered her center of gravity, and at the moment of contact, her wrist exerted a sudden burst of power. Instantly, the ball flew back to the opponent's front court with its own momentum, an extremely tricky angle, almost grazing the sideline as it fell. Before the shuttlecock even hit the ground, Wei Bo rushed over and high-fived classmate Xie hard. Then, the referee's voice rang out, 2:0. With a fast and decisive style of play, in just over 10 minutes, Wei Bo and Xie Yumin quickly took the first game with a score of 21-4. Second game, 21:0. Not a single point lost. The whole court was in an uproar. Even Zhao Yuan and Dai Luan were shocked by their dominance. They're playing that fiercely? Dai Luan asked, do they have a grudge against the other team? Zhao Yuan, I don't know. They don't seem to know each other at all. Dai Luan, not willing to let the other side score a single point this couple. Zhao Yuan, what's wrong with that? What's wrong? In his opinion, in competitive sports, there shouldn't be any letting up or giving points. Giving it your all is the true spirit of competition. Dai Luan actually wanted to say that it was rare to see a couple where both were so ruthless in the amateur division. It was, however, very common among professional players, because among the professional players who could achieve results, none of them were lambs. The quarterfinals ended quickly. The guy from a school of Marxism had shaken hands with Wei Bo before the match started. After it ended, faced with Wei Bo's smiling face, he didn't say a word and left with a gloomy expression. Xie Yumin, how rude. Wei Bo, sore loser. Xie Yumin, what did he say to you at the beginning of the match? Wei Bo, he said he was going to beat me 21:0. Xie Yumin, smiles. They were the first of the 4 pairs to finish. There was still some time before the semifinals. The 2 of them sat on the floor, drinking water and watching the other 3 matches. Wei Bo, the guy in the colorful clothes, is very fast. Xie Yumin, the transition from defense to offense is indeed passable. Wei Bo, but the girl in the colorful clothes is a bit of a liability. Xie Yumin, yeah, she can't keep up. Wei Bo, but the colorful team will still win. Xie Yumin, yeah, the other side is even worse. Their gazes turned to another pair. This match was a bit of a close call. Wei Bo observed for a while and felt that both of the guys in this match were no worse than him. But in mixed doubles, it was meaningless to talk about individuals. The guy in orange uses a lot of deceptive moves. It's quite confusing, Wei Bo said. Deceptive moves in badminton weren't for showing off, but for misleading the opponent. For example, faking a drop shot, but actually pushing, faking a smash, but actually dropping it could cause the opponent to misjudge and move in advance, leading to a wrong position and exposing an opening. This guy's deceptive moves were very smooth. It was obvious that he had practiced them as a tactic. Xie Yumin was very calm. Too fake. I can see right through it. Wei Bo smiled. The girl on the other side is easily fooled. Xie Yumin. Yeah, she's making consecutive mistakes and can't adjust. The 2 of them looked at the last match. In this match, the guy in the red jersey was very dominant. The red team's offense is very oppressive. Wei Bo said his smash just now was very explosive. The other side couldn't return at all. Xie Yumin nodded. Powerful and heavy, and his jumping height is also a bit higher. Wei Bo, this guy also does consecutive smashes. He's quite fierce. Being able to grab the high point and execute consecutive smashes every time was still a bit of a threat. As the 2 of them were talking, the winners of the 4 matches had been decided. The red team won 2:1. Wei Bo had a feeling of I knew it. The 2 began to discuss tactics against the red team. Xie Yumin was very direct. Don't let him get to the high point. Wei Bo, I'll try to use flat drives and pushes as much as possible, keeping the position below the waist. We can also suddenly change the line of our shots, Xie Yumin said. Their front court is weak. Changing the line can make him run all over the court. Wei Bai smiled. Not a big problem. Xie Yumin nodded. It's a guaranteed win. Wei Bai laughed. Right, a guaranteed win. He also wanted to be a bit more conservative with his words. But one's words and actions should be based on facts, shouldn't they? Although the red team posed some threat from the situation on the court, as long as he and classmate Xie didn't make any major mistakes, they were sure to take first place. Of course, Wei Bai was also clear that he was being carried by his girlfriend. But if you can be carried by your girlfriend, why not? What? You don't have a girlfriend? Oh, well then. After the quarterfinals, only 4 pairs of contestants were left on the court. At this point, the atmosphere became even more tense. The The surrounding shouts and cheers had completely escalated to the level of inter-college rivalry. Weibai wasn't sure how these college affiliations were calculated. Could it be that everyone dated within their own college? The cheer for him and classmate Xie didn't involve this kind of political-level struggle. First, Brother Bai and Sister Man for first place. First. Weibai was very satisfied with this simple and clear cheer. Yes, they were going to take first place. The further they got, the more the concern over winning and losing weighed on them, especially having reached the semifinals. If they lost this match, wouldn't they have to fight for third place? Who would want to fight for third? Weibai didn't, anyway. His heart was set only on first. He had a good feeling about the draw for this round. Number 1. Weibai turned back and smiled at Simp. 1 was good. He had wanted to draw number 1. So, the question now was, which lucky fourth or third place team would be drawn against them? Weibai quickly found his opponents for this round. It was the guy in the orange shirt, the one with a ton of feints. Weibai gave a friendly greeting. Little Orange couldn't manage a smile. Holy crap, how did he end up drawing this pair of jinxes? The moment he got off the court, he heard people saying that this pair had just played ferociously, not giving their opponents any room to breathe and sealing the match with a strong 2-0 victory. Great, now he and his girlfriend weren't going to get 2-0D as well, were they? Before the match even started, Little Orange could already see his final ranking. If he was lucky, third place. If he was unlucky, fourth. But hey, the match hadn't started yet. No need to crush his own spirit, right? The outcome is not yet decided. We could all be dark horses. Little Orange psyched himself up. He had his own special moves too. His feints were so numerous, so realistic, so magnificent, they were guaranteed to fool those two again and again. Everyone walked to their respective sides of the court. The whistle blew. The semifinals began. Little Orange took half a step back, assuming a ready and waiting posture. At this moment, standing opposite him was High University's strongest couple combination, the little blue team. He had to use all his strength for even a sliver of a chance at victory. Taking a deep breath, Little Orange touched his girlfriend's arm. Let's do our best. His girlfriend was also quite nervous. One reason was the fear of losing. The other was that standing opposite her was the renowned campus belle of High University, Simp. Putting skill aside, the pressure from her beauty was also quite terrifying. Let's do our best. Little Orange's girlfriend said the same, but deep down, she had no confidence at all. Simp was serving. For the first point, Simp didn't go for a killer shot. The shuttlecock spun into the opponent's court, its height just clearing the net. Little Orange bent his knees, dropped his wrist, and pressed his racket towards the ground, looking like he was about to drive a long, straight shot. Weibai had been watching his movements closely. Noticing the turn of his wrist, it seemed he was going for a short shot at the net. As expected, the shuttlecock flew close to the net, dropping quickly after it crossed over. Weibai didn't move, but Simp was already prepared. She shuffled forward and, with a light flick of her wrist, sent a cross-court drop shot straight into the dead corner of the net. Little Orange's girlfriend rushed to receive it, but the shuttlecock was too fast and had already hit the court. 1-0. Little Orange's girlfriend was completely stunned. How did that shuttlecock even land? She didn't even see it clearly. Little Orange was even more dazed. The secret to a feint is that even if your opponent knows you're a master of feints, the fast pace on the court will cause them to be deceived by inertia. His feint was so realistic it almost fooled himself. Why did the pair opposite him show no reaction at all? Is this normal? This must be an accident. Let's try again. This time, he would definitely let them know the prowess of a badminton performance artist. Having won a point, Weibai calmly served a high ball to the backcourt. Here comes the chance. Little Orange leaned back, raised his racket high, his expression serious, veins popping. He looked all set for a heavy smash. But upon closer observation, one could see that the power from his waist and legs was disconnected. With such a forceful feint, it was highly likely he would switch to a light, real move. Was he going for a drop shot to the net, or a light, fast, flat push? No matter what, maintain a stable and flexible center of gravity. Don't retreat too far. Then, keep your eyes locked on him. In an instant, Weibai caught the opponent's motion of flattening his wrist. Perfect timing. Wei Bai immediately moved sideways. As expected, the ball flew in a diagonal line. Smack! A successful block. Clap! This time, it was the sound of a high five. Wei Bai and Xian Yuman looked at each other and smiled, their expressions full of trust and tacit understanding. Xiao Cheng and his girlfriend were completely stunned. 2 feints in a row had failed to trick them. Xiao Cheng suspected they could read minds. But it had only been a few minutes since the match started. It was too early to give up now. Since his feints were always seen through, he would use real moves. All's fair in war. What if they mistook his real move for a feint and misjudged their response? That's the plan. Wei Bai watched him closely. The moment of impact was richest in detail. No matter how realistic the act, the slightest change could reveal one's true intentions. By finding Xiao Cheng's flaws to figure out his true playstyle, Wei Bai felt this match was much more interesting than the previous ones. A pity. Before they had played many more rounds, Xiao Cheng suddenly changed tactics, abandoning his flashy style for a very straightforward one. In that case, Wei Bai and Xian Yuman exchanged a look and immediately quickened the pace. A quick victory to buy more time to recover for the next match. 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 21-5, 2-0. Game over. Wei Bai amicably shook hands with Xiao Cheng. Xiao Cheng had a long face. Dude, you win every game 2-0. Wei Bai laughed. Just trying to get a bit more rest time. Do you two even need a rest? Xiao Cheng thought. You guys look like you could play for another 2 hours without a problem. Especially your girlfriend. She looks like a fairy. So how is she so fierce and tricky when she plays? Is that a level a normal girl should have? Xiao Cheng was heartbroken to lose a top 3 spot. His girlfriend, however, was fine. At least we lost to them. Wouldn't it be more frustrating to lose to someone else in a 21-20 situation? Besides, even though we lost, they're so easy on the eyes. Look at them, holding hands even when they go to rest. How sweet is that? Xiao Cheng had lost all his strength. He knew his girlfriend loved shipping CPs, but she usually shipped those fake, hyped-up CPs from the entertainment industry. Now, she was even shipping their opponents. Then again, it wasn't as if they had considered them opponents. They weren't worthy of being their opponents at all. Xiao Cheng chugged half a bottle of water, took his girlfriend's hand, and found a place to sit. There were advantages to a quick battle. He and his girlfriend would have more time to rest, to avenge their defeat and fight for 3rd place. Not everyone might want to fight for 1st, but nobody wanted to be 4th. Anyone who has made it to the semifinals of any competition would understand. There's only one rank separating the top 4 from the top 3, but it's a world of difference. People might remember a competition's champion, runner-up, or even 3rd place, but they would never remember who came in 4th. 4th place doesn't even get a title. It's just 4th place. The top 3 get a group photo, a frame, and a sports gift box corresponding to their rank. 4th place only gets a school-stamped Outstanding Athlete Certificate of Honor. Winning this match meant, at the very least, they wouldn't end up in 4th place, but would lock in a top 2 spot. But Wei Bai and Xian Yuman's goal had always been clear. 1st place. As they rested, the two of them chatted. We'll definitely be up against the red team later. Xian Yuman nodded. The clash of red and blue is a tale as old as time. Now that you mention it, Wei Bai laughed. What a coincidence, it's red versus blue. Xian Yuman blinked. Red Kuei or blue Kuei? Who do you choose? Wei Bai, shouldn't the question be Shuejian or Long Kuei? Xian Yuman, Long Kuei is split into 2. Wei Bai, true. I choose red Kuei. He liked the one who could fight. Xian Yuman, I choose red Kuei too. But we're wearing blue right now. Wei Bai, then I choose the red Kuei who wears blue. Xian Yuman, the red Kuei who wears blue is blue Kuei. Wei Bai, no, it has to be red Kuei. Blue Kuei cried all the time. He didn't like that. Xian Yuman, all right then, let's have red Kuei wear blue and blue Kuei wear red. The two chatted nonsense with straight faces, their bodies and minds completely relaxed. Meanwhile, on the court, the red team and the team in colorful shirts were still locked in a fierce battle. Although both Wei Bai and Xian Yuman thought the red team would win, the colorful team had strong willpower and seemed to be getting more and more in the zone as they played. I'm suddenly a bit nostalgic for the sports days of my childhood. Weibo began. Elementary school, middle school, high school, the sports days all had a kind of feeling like a mini Olympics. How should I put it? That passionate feeling. The students participating in the events all felt like they were representing the entire class and absolutely couldn't lose. Classmates, yeah. Have you heard those stories about people whose shoes fall off, but they still desperately run to the finish line? It really happened when I was in middle school. There was a girl in my class. I remember it was a relay race, and she was the last leg. Her shoe fell off, and she ran to the finish line barefoot. Simp thought of the sports days she had experienced. In retrospect, although she really disliked her school and the atmosphere in the capital, when it came to the sports day, everyone seemed to be exceptionally proactive and hardworking. Even as she remained on the periphery of the crowd, she had to admit that the atmosphere was magical. Universities have sports days too. Simp looked at him and said softly, "If you like, we can participate together next year." Haida University's sports day was in the autumn. Last autumn, they had just enrolled and paid almost no attention to it. Weibo smiled. "I think it's different. Although it's still about competing for first place, in childhood, it was for a sense of collective honor. That's not really emphasized in university." Simp thought for a moment and said, "I only hang out with my roommates. I don't know my other classmates very well." Weibo, thinking back, I think I've only seen our class advisor 3 or 4 times in total. I've seen the counselor a bit more, and usually several classes have lessons together, so the lines between classes aren't very clear. Simp, I'm in class 1, Zwa is in class 2. The more they chatted, the more they strayed from the topic, eventually ending up talking about how many people were in each class. Zhao Yuan passed behind them and happened to hear them discussing the male-to-female ratio in their class. He couldn't help but pat Weibo on the shoulder and remind him, "Shouldn't you be using this time to study your opponents a little more?" Weibo laughed. "I am studying them." The topics he and classmate Xie were discussing were very superficial precisely because they were watching the match while they talked. If the red team scored another 3 points, the winner would be decided. Zhao Yuan didn't know if Weibo was talking nonsense or really studying them. However, in Zhao Yuan's view, whether they studied them or not, first place was pretty much guaranteed. The thought of getting to eat a meal treated by Dai Luan tonight made Zhao Yuan quite happy. "You just started learning too late," Zhao Yuan said to Weibo. "Otherwise, you two could have gone pro." Weibo smiled. "If I had started in elementary school, I would have had to find my girlfriend first." He knew very well that his skills and stamina were nowhere near enough for singles. Zhao Yuan laughed out loud, and then returned to the referee's seat. "What did you just go and say to the contestants?" Dai Luan asked. "You weren't giving them tactical advice, were you?" Zhao Yuan, "What is there to advise? Isn't this a sure win?" Dai Luan wanted to retort with a stubborn, "That's not necessarily true," but at this point in the game, the situation was already very clear. All the mixed doubles matches were completed in one afternoon. The red team's style of play was too physically demanding, and their stamina was already waning before they even reached the finals. Moreover, although Dai Luan disliked couple pairings, he now had to admit that even if the red team's stamina was fine, they had almost no chance of winning against that couple. It seemed that tonight's dinner was a sure thing. He had only said he would treat, but he hadn't specified what they would eat. A bowl of ramen could also be considered a treat, right? On the court, the red team finally won the match 2-1. There was a half-hour break in between. At 5 in the afternoon, the grand final began. By now, Weibo had a relatively comprehensive understanding of his opponents. The male player on the red team was tall and strong, with the steel-like temperament of a professional athlete. He excelled at continuous powerful smashes, but his playing style was too draining. Even after resting for half an hour, his stamina should be insufficient. The female player was more agile and knew many techniques, but compared to classmate Xie, there was a considerable gap in her execution. According to the strategy he and classmate Xie had decided on, they would keep the shuttlecock low and hit more cross-court shots. Weibo was confident. With a determination to win, he lowered his center of gravity and got ready. Number 8. Choose a side or serve. The opponents chose to serve. The first shot was a high clear. This was to move him out of position and create an opportunity for a powerful smash. Weibo judged that De Hong also knew he had a stamina problem. so he wanted to speed up the tempo and try to score quickly with consecutive smashes. Weibo passively moved back to receive the shot. At the same time, following their original strategy, he returned with a flat clear. The trajectory was lower and the speed was faster, angling across the court and forcing the opponent to move. De Hong had clearly anticipated this as well. His footwork was barely disturbed. He pushed off with both legs, leaned his body back, and with a pow, was about to smash it down hard. Here it comes. This flat clear was hit quite low. Smashing it now was not a good choice. But De Hong did it anyway. Weibo judged that the opponents knew his and student Xia's playstyle, so they would risk a heavy smash the moment they gained any initiative. Chapter 457. This is strength. At this moment, Weibo stood diagonally opposite De Hong. The heavy smash came in a diagonal line, clearly aimed at Weibo. Weibo estimated he could defend against this smash. But receiving a heavy smash wasn't just about defending. It was about seizing the opportunity to make the opponent's next shot difficult, or even to make them lose the point directly. Weibo shuffled quickly, feigning to receive the shuttlecock. But at the instant the shuttlecock whistled by, Weibo dodged, quickly vacating his position. Simultaneously, Simp Yuman's forearm supinated rapidly, the face of her racket suddenly changing direction at the moment of contact. The shuttlecock, which should have been met by the strings, instead struck the frame of the racket. The shuttlecock, which should have dropped in a straight line, suddenly twisted, veering diagonally and tumbling just over the net. Thwack! The shuttlecock landed on the floor right beside the opposing female player's racket. 1:0. They had taken the first point of the final. Even Dai Luan was stunned by this play. In a split second, one dodged while the other met the shot. What incredible synergy did that require? Could it be the couples really had a natural advantage in mixed doubles? No. It was more likely that this particular couple was exceptionally special. With coordination like that, Dai Luan muttered, they must have known each other since they were kids, and played badminton together since they were kids. Stop talking about useless things, Zhao Yuan said with a wide grin. Treat me to the seafood buffet tonight. $299 per person, with all-you-can-eat durian. Dai Luan, that's daylight robbery, isn't it? Why $299 a person? What is the 59? A person one not good enough to eat. Zhao Yuan, the $299 one is delicious. Dai Luan, have you had it before? Zhao Yuan, nope. I'm waiting for your treat. Dai Luan. Why were the spectators shouting so loudly? It was just 1 point. Had they won the championship already? So noisy. Zhou Yin had shouted himself hoarse. Since some people in the group around him didn't understand the technical aspects at all, he had to take on the role of commentator. Did you see that last shot? He went for a heavy smash against my brother Bai. That shot was definitely to test brother Bai. But then brother Bai pulled a feint, and sister man bled the pace off the shuttlecock. The opponents were completely stunned. What does this show? It shows that when brother Bai pretended to receive the shuttlecock, sister man understood immediately and reacted instantly. This is insane. With synergy at this level, how are the opponents supposed to play? This was the most astonishing play Zhou Yin had seen all afternoon. He thought to himself that if he were on the other side of the net, he'd want to throw down his racket and quit. Quit? What was there left to play? Playing a match against them felt like watching a continuous performance of two hearts beating as one. Damn. Do you think they have some kind of superpower? Zhou Yin looked at Shenyue Yuan. Like one of them can read the other's mind. Shenyue Yuan had a look on her face like she was totally shipping them. I'll ask Man after the match is over. Xiao Xia whispered. Are Zhou Yin and Lil Shun always like this? One was goofy, and the other wasn't much better. Zhou Yixuan nodded. They've always been very sweet. Xiao Xia. Was she talking about whether they were sweet or not? Forget it. There was no explaining it to someone like Zhou Yixuan who had never been in a relationship. Xiao Xia didn't understand the game very well. But that didn't stop her from thinking Wei Bai and Simp Yuman were awesome. Xiao Xia. Bai is going to win again. Nan Iliao. Didn't this set just start? Xiao Xia. They've already won 1 point. Isn't the rest simple? Nan Iliao. Xia Xiaodang. I've discovered you have a kind of blind confidence in Wei Bai, don't you? Xiao Xia. How is it blind? I'm being super objective. Nan Iliao. Nan Iliao. When we get back to Lucheng, I'll ask him for a game of badminton. I'll let you see what real strength is. Xiao Xia. Okay, so I can watch you get crushed by bye-bye, ha. Nano Yao. Whose side are you on? Xiao Xia. It depends on the situation. Wei Bai didn't know that he had become a part of a young couple's playful banter. He was focused solely on the match, continuing the rhythm he and student Xie had established. This was his habit. Even if he was highly confident of winning, he would never slack off and give his opponents an opportunity. Now, the initiative was in their hands. Unlike the previous sets, Wei Bai wasn't playing with as much urgency in this one. Right now, the opponent's stamina was their weakness. If they played too fast, it might give De Hong's team a chance to turn the tables. But if they took it slow, facing their diminishing stamina, De Hong's team would only become more and more anxious. When you're anxious, you're prone to making mistakes. Here it came, as if his entire being was a fully drawn bow. De Hong let loose with a twang. He executed his fourth jump smash of the set. The intended trajectory of this jump smash was toward the sideline. This time, Wei Bai chose to receive it himself. The racket held horizontally before his chest, as if he had perfectly calculated the trajectory. He gently eased his wrist, and the ball floated back lightly. The female player in red was already prepared to receive the ball, but she couldn't get to it in time, watching helplessly as it hit the court. That was Big Red's signature move, the jump smash. It would have been one thing if the opponent had just returned it, but they actually scored a point off it. His partner realized their rhythm had been completely disrupted by the opponents. They were almost powerless to fight back. Opponents like these should be playing in championships. What are they doing in an amateur tournament? They were already 5 points behind. Could they still catch up? Let's try again. After all, we can't just admit defeat, can we? If my stamina hadn't given out, Big Red grumbled, I definitely would have scored that point. His partner, right. The opponent's coordination was too seamless. Even at their peak physical condition, what chance would they have? Besides, Sim Yumin hadn't even started trying yet. She had seen Sim Yumin play a few shots and knew perfectly well that if the other girl really went all out, she and her partner would probably be finished in an instant. I've seen right through their flashy moves, Big Red said, taking a sip of water, his spirits renewed. I'll use all my strength to smash the next shot. They definitely won't be able to return it. His female partner could only agree. I'll do my best to guard the front court. The match continued. 6-1, 17-3, 21-3. Big Red and his partner were utterly crushed. We have to win the next game. Yeah, if we don't, it'll be 2-0. Playing a match that ends 2-0 is so boring. I know, right? If it were me, I'd definitely let them win one game to drag it to a third. That makes the match more exciting to watch. Bro, have you been beaten senseless? You think so? Huh? 2-0. See, I told you. A 2-0 match is so boring. Bro, from our perspective, isn't it 0-2? Can you not put it so harshly? The Haida University badminton final was over. Wei Bai and Sim Yumin had won the championship with a decisive 2-0 score. Note, it was 2-0 in the quarterfinals, 2-0 in the semifinals, and still 2-0 in the grand final. A true best 2 out of 3 that never needed a third game. This was true strength. We won. Wei Bai smiled at Sim Yumin. Sim Yumin also revealed a faint dimple. Yeah. The people from a student union's publicity department who saw this were getting anxious. Seriously, you two are going to be this calm. Aren't you going to high-five, cheer, hug, or even share a passionate kiss on the spot? In such a fervent moment, even a marriage proposal wouldn't be out of place. Being so calm, what am I supposed to photograph and post on Zaihongshu Douyin, our official WeChat account, and Weibo? Right, just this looking at each other and smiling. This works. This is too beautiful, too sweet. And then contrast it with the red team in the distance, slumped on the ground with vacant eyes. Who says this photo won't work? This photo is amazing. Mixed doubles isn't like men's or women's singles or doubles. Beyond youth, struggle, and passion, it might have something else. What is that something? It's so obvious. Victory. It is always accompanied by fervent cheers and applause. At this moment, Wei Bai and Sim Yumin stood in the center of the court, enjoying it all. You know, you really have to admit it. This feeling was truly wonderful, especially after fighting side by side with classmate Xie and being drenched in sweat. To receive such a youthful, passionate, and pure ovation. The atmosphere was perfect. If this kept up, Wei Bai was even starting to think about playing professional badminton. Professional league. Wasn't he getting carried away? Getting carried away isn't always a bad thing. Letting yourself float a little now and then is good for your mental and physical health. Besides, if you don't get a little carried away when you win, are you even human? Youth is wasted if not lived with a bit of wild abandon. Wei Bai remained on cloud 9 until the end of the award ceremony. During the ceremony, they took a photo with the big red and little orange pair and had a friendly exchange. Wei Bai, we should play together again sometime. Little orange, big red. Silence, commonly known as tacit agreement. Wei Bai was very satisfied. After the awards were given and photos were taken, Zhou Yin and the others all crowded around. A 2-0 score every match. That's so badass. You're unbeatable. We have to celebrate properly tonight. What are the prizes? Open them up and let's see. The whole group gathered around to look at the champion's gift box. It was called a gift box, but it was actually a small bag about the size of a briefcase. Wei Bai and Simp each got one. Looks like there's definitely no badminton racket inside, unless rackets can be folded. Zhou Yin stated the obvious. There must be shuttlecocks inside, said Xiao Xia. Shen Yuan took Simp small bag to test its weight. This bag is quite heavy. Shuttlecocks should be very light, right? Zhou Yin, Yuan is so smart. Everyone, under the watchful eyes of the group, Simp slowly unzipped the small bag. Several heads immediately leaned in close. What is all this? Shuttlecocks? 3 of them. Grip tape, shock-absorbing film. Under wrap, Sun Xiuxiu's eyes grew wider as she looked. In a plastic cup, 2 pairs of socks. That's it, just this. Simp slowly zipped it back up. She really wanted to throw this sports gift box straight into the trash. Everyone turned their heads towards Wei Bai. At this moment, Wei Bai was already stunned by the gifts in classmate Xia's bag. At the same time, he had come to the profound realization that the contents of his bag were surely identical to classmate Xia's. But, as everyone wished, he still unzipped it. Oh yay, not completely identical. For example, the color of the grip tape was different, and the color of the socks was different too. This random combination of colors looked like a random Pinduoduo shipment at a glance. Right? What a champion's gift box. Truly ingenious, unexpected, and a complete bucket of cold water. Xiao Cheng and Xiao Cheng's girlfriend came over to compare notes with Wei Bai. I have this and that in my bag, what about you? This comparison made Wei Bai even more disheartened. The only difference between the champions and the third-place winner's prize was 2 shuttlecocks. In other words, only 1 shuttlecock different from the runner-up. The number of shuttlecocks was like their rankings in reverse. So distinct, and yet so defeating. In an instant, Wei Bai's high was over, because he now understood a certain truth. He was playing in an amateur tournament, and the highest achievement in this amateur tournament was only worth 3 shuttlecocks. Not to mention the grip tape and badminton socks. He wouldn't even use them if they were given to him for free. Sometimes the line between joy and sorrow is a thin one. Wei Bai zipped up the bag, isolating himself from these gifts, and soon, he cheered up again. He came to compete for the experience of sports and competition, not to win prizes. Right? Classmate Xia? Simp nodded at him. Of course. So we should just throw this crappy bag away. It doesn't represent our honor, only the school's stinginess. Ha ha ha. Zhou Yin started mocking the 2 gift bags. What is all this stuff? Ha 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 ha. Wei Bai let him laugh, because he also found it quite funny. He just didn't expect to be laughed at after winning first place. Ha ha. Sun Xiuxiu brought something up. I have a cousin who participated in a group wedding organized by her workplace and the government last year. The government gave each newlywed couple a gift box. Guess what was in the gift box? Everyone started guessing at once. Aromatherapy, a bowl and chopstick set, wedding candy, bright red towels. Sun Xiuxiu, none of those. It was a rock from mountain near their place. They said it represented the couple's eternal vows. Silence. Then, an explosion of laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha, I'm dying. Who came up with that? Such a genius. To think there's someone even stingier than our school. With the comparison to Sun Xiuxiu's cousin's rock in a box, the small bags in Wei Bai and Simm's hands seemed much more appealing. At least there are 3 shuttlecocks inside, right? And the grip tape and stuff is pretty practical. Anyway, we won. The teasing about the gifts was only temporary. The thrill of winning the match was more real and lasted much longer. Although this was a competition, they entered as individuals. But the small group formed by the two dorms plus one Xiaoxia shared in the glory. Even though they were only spectators, it didn't stop them from feeling that the subject of one was we. Weibai thought this was wonderful. The dorm-based unit filled the void of a lack of class-based belonging and honor in university. For the first place won the competition, there were still people to share the joy, people to cheer, and people to celebrate with. Awesome. What did the gifts matter? The feeling in the moment was the most important thing. What's for dinner? Weibai asked. After playing for a whole afternoon, he was tired and hungry. Classmate Xie was hungry too. Although she didn't say it, Weibai could tell. Xiaoxia food stall. There's a new one on the back street, and they have a discount. Simp, is it any good? Xiaoxia, I've gone and smelled it. It's definitely delicious. The group of people walked off, talking and laughing. Zhao Yuan watched their retreating figures with his hands behind his back, reminded of his own time in college. That was already 10 years ago. $299 per person for the seafood buffet, Zhao Yuan said, grabbing Dai Luan, who was trying to slip away. We'll take your car. Dai Luan, what's so great about seafood? Zhao Yuan, they have barbecue too. Dai Luan. This badminton tournament meant far more to Weibai than he had expected. He never considered himself a workaholic. Since starting his business, he had maintained a decent work-life balance. But now he discovered that he had, in fact, unintentionally given up some things he enjoyed. For example, before college, he had greatly looked forward to his life at High University. But after starting college, he hadn't really taken the time to experience university life. What exactly was university life? Was it a must to participate in campus activities? It was every class in different classrooms, every food stall in different cafeterias, the sports field, the dormitory, the library, all sorts of activities, the final sprint before every exam, and every meal shared with classmate Xie and his friends. Weibai had experienced or participated in all of these. But he now realized he hadn't settled his mind to truly feel them. Until this badminton match, he suddenly had a feeling of, so this is college. This feeling was truly wonderful. It let Weibai know what he truly wanted. He was still very young. He liked to feel, he wanted to win, but he wasn't afraid to lose. Weibai's feelings were quite beautiful. However, the end of this badminton match was not so beautiful. The key was the food stall Xiaoxia had chosen. The taste was indeed authentic. But after eating, Weibai had an upset stomach for 2 consecutive days. Classmate Xie was fine. Among the group, only Weibai and Zhou Yin fell victim. It was probably because the two of them had shared that bowl of complimentary crushed bayberry ice. On Wednesday, Weibai finally felt alive again. I feel like I've lost 3 pounds these past 2 days, Zhou Yin said, hitching up his pants as he came out of the bathroom. I'm never eating the bayberries and crushed ice again. What about the crushed ice and bayberries? Ning Wuchao asked. Zhou Yin, that depends on the situation. In June, Haicheng was already quite hot, and Zhou Yin had started his good life of 1 ice coke a day. Except for the past 2 days, because of the bayberry crushed ice. Weibai was scrolling through short videos. Because he had watched 2 full-stage performances of Chun Mao, the algorithm was now pushing him content related to Chun Mao or Supernova Training Camp. Last weekend, while Weibai was playing in the badminton tournament, Supernova Training Camp had already held its 2nd public performance. There had been other idol competition shows in previous years, but the popularity of Supernova Training Camp surpassed the sum of all previous shows. In other words, the show had blown up. To what extent? Overnight, people who usually watch such shows and those who didn't all knew about it. The show's initial breakthrough relied on a few celebrity mentors and star contestants. Its second breakthrough, however, was thanks to Chun Mao's narrative arc. Originally, Chun Mao didn't have much screen time. He gained some fans with just a 2-second shot during his initial stage performance. And it was then that Shui Peng launched the first wave of marketing. It was a video of Chun Mao when he first arrived at the company dormitory. He looked around in amazement. This is for me to live in? There's air conditioning. How much does this cost? Can I get a refund? I've seen ones online that are like school dorms. I can just live in one of those. At the time, the clothes he wore had a large logo with 4 black diagonal stripes, and next to the logo, the word "Adidas" was spelled out in English. This video made many people remember the name Chun Mao, knowing he was a kid who came from the bottom. And this Chun Mao, coincidentally, displayed an extraordinary level of diligence in the show. If he couldn't perfect his initial stage performance, he wouldn't sleep. He practiced until the lights in the practice room were turned off, until he was the only one left. Chun Mao gradually developed his own narrative arc in the show. This narrative didn't require Chui Peng to provide any material to the platform. It spread like wildfire within a week. At first, fans dug up some videos related to Chun Mao from the official account of Mu Chao culture. Only then did they discover that before participating in the talent show, Chun Mao had actually been a bricklayer on a construction site. When the company wanted to sign him, he thought they were scammers. After refusing multiple times, he continued to work as a bricklayer. Then, fans unearthed something Chui Peng, the boss of Mu Chao culture, had said during a variety show appearance. Someone just said that in this script, the male protagonist's background, with a gambler father and an unfaithful, absent mother, is too dramatic. I recently signed a kid whose family background is very similar to this male lead's, perhaps even worse. The male lead you wrote at least has a cousin to help him. The kid I signed dropped out of high school to support his younger sister who is still in middle school. He's from my hometown, Lucheng. When I found him, he was laying bricks on a construction site. So what I want to say is, drama comes from reality. I don't think there's any problem with this male lead's identity setting. The old videos from Mu Chao's official account, combined with Chui Peng's words, caused the name Chun Mao to instantly explode across the internet. More and more passersby were drawn to watch Supernova Training Camp. Chun Mao's screen time increased, and his personality and background gradually became clearer. Just then, Supernova Training Camp welcomed its second public performance. Chun Mao's group performed a song called Edge. He wasn't the center, but on stage, he was even more dazzling than the center. Chun Mao had completely blown up. At that time, Weibo was participating in a badminton tournament. In the company's group chat, Shui Yinxin was constantly spamming videos, photos, and online comments about Chun Mao. After the second performance, the voting ranks were announced. Chun Mao was third, strongly securing a spot in the top tier. This whole marketing plan had been designed by Weibo long ago. At this moment, he was sitting in his dorm room, facing his computer screen, admiring the results of his work. To be honest, this narrative was so captivating that even Weibo was about to become a fan of Chun Mao. Besides, Chun Mao was actually a very good singer. He could hit the high notes and drop to the low ones, and he wouldn't get breathless or go off key while singing and dancing. Although he was a latecomer to dancing, his moves were sharp and full of tension. Most importantly, he could pour emotion into his performance, and his facial expression control was excellent. The more Weibo watched, the more satisfied he became. While his marketing was on point, it was Chun Mao's own hard work that made such results possible. Shui Yinxin was almost crazy with joy. In reality, she was the one who had specifically overseen and pushed Weibo's marketing plan. But before the results were out, it would be a lie to say she wasn't anxious. After all, Chun Mao was the first artist she had managed, and also the main result of her work for the past 6 months. If Chun Mao became popular, it meant she could make money, a lot of money. If Chun Mao flopped, it meant she would have to start all over again. During the first public performance, Chun Mao had made it into the top 15, and Shui Yunxin still felt it was a bit unreal. Now, after the second performance, Chun Mao had jumped to third, and Shui Yunxin was indignant. Why not first? How was Chun Mao any worse than the first and second place contestants? It's rigged. It must be rigged. Although she had this mentality, Shui Yunxin was still mostly rational. She recalled when Weibo and Chui Peng had asked her to join them, how she had hesitated repeatedly. Back then, both Weibo and Chui Peng had said she was very suited to be an agent. Looking at it now, she really was very suited to be an agent. But then again, it seemed like she had been completely carried by Weibo this time. From the moment they signed Chun Mao. No, even before they signed Chun Mao, Weibo already had a complete marketing strategy in mind. Now, they were just following that initial strategy and getting the results they deserved. In just 2 short weeks, almost everyone around them knew Chun Mao's name. And the architect of all this was actually a college freshman. Junior Weibo is terrifyingly capable, Shui Yunxin exclaimed with emotion. With the opportunity to work with such an outstanding person, she had to work even harder. Sisters, don't miss out on this Chun Mao. Shui Yunxin switched accounts and posted, exposing the inside story of Supernova Training Camp. He's a natural-born king of the stage, but only got a 1-second shot in his first performance. Then she switched accounts and posted again. This is a Brother Mao visual appreciation post. I'm a shallow person, purely attracted by Brother Mao's looks. As everyone knows, guys don't really watch male idol survival shows. But for the past 2 days, the dorm room was always talking about Chun Mao. This was mainly because of Zhou Yan, who had developed a bit of jealousy. Brother Bo, why didn't you send me to this show back then? I can dance too, and I'm a student at High University. That tag would definitely make me popular, right? Weibo, High University is a tag that gets popular easily on social media, but it doesn't attract many fans in a survival show. Besides, could you handle the hardships of a survival show? Chun Mao only sleeps 3 or 4 hours a day. As soon as Zhou Yan heard this, he shut up. Sleep 3 hours a day? What's the point of living? Weibo added, you also have to constantly maintain your figure, eat less, and exercise more. Zhou Yan retreated to his desk. Can't eat good food? Might as well be dead. Weibo, oh right, the fans of these idols are basically all female, so you can't date before you transition your career. Zhou Yan was completely silenced. The need for young people to date is human nature. Not allowing dating is suppressing human desire. Can you even live without desires? Might as well be dead. Being an idol really isn't easy, Zhou Yan said. Weibo smiled. You can earn an unimaginable amount of money after you get famous. You have to pay a price, right? Zhou Yan thought for a moment. It's still better to be an internet celebrity. For someone like him who lacked ambition and was fond of eating and lazing around, being an internet celebrity was good enough. The weekend arrived quickly. After class on Friday afternoon, Weibo and Simp went grocery shopping and cooked together. Tonight, they made a simple and delicious pork cutlet rice. After eating, the two of them watched Supernova Training Camp together. There was no public performance this week. The show's content was about their daily training life. On the show, the daily training time was about 15 hours, a training intensity that could be described as demonic. Besides showcasing the training, the show also had to present the interactions between the contestants. This part of the interaction was also key to attracting fans. Weibo learned that many fans of talent shows were actually fans of the contestants' personalities. Chun Mao was very serious during training, but liked to zone out and was a bit dazed during breaks. Coupled with his innocent clarity, as if he hadn't seen the world, his genuine personality was very likable. After watching for a while, Weibo noticed that classmate Xie was getting a bit restless. So many handsome guys of all different styles, and classmate Xie is this uninterested? Weibo pressed pause. Classmate Xie, but don't like this show? Simp yawned. Yeah, it's boring. Weibo. Then how about we watch the previous episode? That one has stage performances. Simp was interested in music and the stage, so she nodded. This time, they watched the performance-only version. The first thing they saw was the stage performance of Chun Mao's group. Simp managed to finish watching the 3-minute-plus performance. With the backing track removed, it would be unlistenable, she said expressionlessly. Everyone's pitch is off. The dancing, too, she said. Many of the moves aren't executed properly. Weibo could also hear the pitch problems, but pitch could be affected by many factors, like the live setting or the in-ear monitors. He had heard Chun Mao sing in the practice room and didn't think he had a major problem. As for the dancing, he was a layman just watching for fun, so he could only get a general idea. Classmate Xie, is Chun Mao's dancing a big problem? Weibo asked. Simp, he's the best among this group. They watched a few more videos. This time, without Simp having to say anything, Weibo could also see that a few people stood out in their dancing. Rong Zhao's overall skill is the strongest. Weibo sighed. No wonder he's number one. Simp, he's just so. That sentence, that tone. Weibo suddenly remembered that classmate Xie could both sing and dance. He had never seen classmate Xie dance before. Weibo suddenly felt an itch of curiosity. looking at classmate Xie with expectant eyes. Xian Yuman? Wei Bai, classmate Xie. I remember back in high school, you often went dancing on weekends to de-stress. Xian Yuman? Yeah. Wei Bai? Xian Yuman suddenly stood up. I'm going to change. As she spoke, she walked towards her room. Change into what? It couldn't be a dance outfit, could it? Classmate Xie was going to dance for him. Wei Bai looked at the door to classmate Xie's room again and again, waiting for the anticipated figure to appear. The door made a sound. Wei Bai quickly widened his eyes. Classmate Xie walked out. What was she wearing? A blouse with a bow tie, a plaid skirt, white knee-high socks, and small leather shoes. So pure, so cute. Why was she dressed like this? Under Wei Bai's puzzled gaze, Xian Yuman walked to the front of the TV. She held her phone and tapped a screencast. Soon, the theme song for Supernova Training Camp appeared on the TV screen. The intro began to play. Xian Yuman tilted her head slightly, her eyes smiling, so sweet that Wei Bai's heart felt like popping candy. Just 2 beats into the intro, Xian Yuman's feet hopped lightly to the drumbeat as she raised a hand, her fingertips tracing a line from her collarbone to her shoulder. When she turned, the hem of her skirt swung in an arc, and her long, straight black hair swayed with the movement, as if every strand was dancing. Hey, getting closer to you in the next second, the dream is ready. Show you my heart will never give up. Every leap and turn seemed to land on the beat of one's heart. Her voice as crisp and pleasant as lemon soda. Her eyes held a sweet and joyful smile, so bright and so full of hope. Even the air seemed to turn sweet from her dancing. Though it was clearly nighttime, Wei Bai felt as if sunlight was shining in, carrying the scent of fruit gummies. She was glowing. There was no spotlight, but she was glowing. Wei Bai felt his heart being teased by her radiance and by the rhythm. Even his nerves were trembling, burning hot. Finally, the last beat landed. The music stopped abruptly. She knelt on one knee, her eyes sparkling as she looked at Wei Bai. I'm the one you want. No need to hesitate. Chapter 461. Guess. How will the little bird answer? In that instant, Wei Bai felt that all idol drama plots were lame in comparison. What female lead stunning the crowd after a change of clothes, or the male lead saving the damsel in distress who falls for him at first sight, could compare to classmate Xie's flying hair and radiant smile at this moment? Wei Bai had never before thought the Supernova Training Camp theme song was particularly good, or that the lyrics were well written. But at this moment, he felt it was the best song and the most beautiful dance in the world. He swept the girl who was kneeling on one knee into his arms, kissing her fiercely here and there. Wei Bai sighed. I finally understand why people like watching girl groups. Xian Yuman? Wei Bai immediately followed up with the next sentence. Of course, any girl group or boy group is far behind when compared to classmate Xie. This statement was absolutely not exaggerated in the slightest. Even if he didn't understand dance, he could see how well classmate Xie danced. The rhythm, the lines, the frame of her body were all incredibly pleasing to the eye, not to mention her stable breath control, voice, and pitch-perfect singing even while dancing. Her whole being radiated a sense of youthfulness. Xian Yuman was satisfied. Wei Bai shifted his position to hold her, looking as if he was half pressing her onto the sofa, but in reality, he was gathering her into his arms. No wonder you said they were all just average. Wei Bai smiled. So there was a reference point, but the standard of this reference is too high. If they were compared to classmate Xie, they wouldn't even count as average. Why compare a boy group to a girl? It didn't matter. Who asked classmate Xie to have just danced a boy group's dance? Classmate Xie, did you remember all the moves and lyrics after watching it just once? Wei Bai asked. Xian Yuman. Wei Bai, don't try to fool me. Xian Yuman, I learned it beforehand. The choreography was quite good. She wanted to dance it for the little turtle. Learned it beforehand? Then it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing, but rather premeditated. That's right, classmate Xie did like to be well prepared for things, and then give him a big surprise. It really is a surprise. Wei Bai leaned in and kissed her dark hair on the side. Xian Yuman was completely enfolded in his arms, being held and kissed. The short skirt she was wearing had long since bunched up, and the bow on her blouse had come undone at some point. A hand began to climb up from below, leaving a trail of unconscious warmth and a blush like rosy clouds with every inch of skin it passed over. What happened next is not for public viewing. Weibo knew very well whether a boy group dance looked good. For this reason, when he went to Makeo Culture to write songs on Saturday, he changed his usual style and wrote a powerful, upbeat song. This song definitely couldn't be sung and danced by classmate Xie, because classmate Xie had clearly stated she didn't want to show her face. So it was better to save it for Chun Mao, for his boy group to sing when he successfully debuted. After a busy day at Makeo Culture on Saturday, he went to Lingxi in the evening. On Sunday morning, Weibo and classmate Xie went for a morning run together, then went to the market street they had visited before for breakfast. Having learned from last time that they didn't want to buy anything after eating their fill, this time they shopped first and ate later. They bought some fruits, pastries, fresh vegetables, and beef, and ate scallion pancakes and small wontons. It was a very comfortable morning. They moved at a leisurely pace like many couples, enjoying the simple, everyday atmosphere. After breakfast, they unhurriedly went home. By this time, it was already past 10 o'clock. Looks like we can skip lunch. Weibo laughed. Yumin nodded. We can eat earlier in the afternoon. I'll make clear stewed beef ribs with a spicy, sour, and sweet sauce. Weibo was surprised. Is the flavor of the sauce that complex? Yumin was very confident about this sauce. Weibo couldn't quite imagine what a sour, sweet, spicy, and fragrant sauce would taste like. But if classmate Xie said it was delicious, then it should be fine, right? Having just finished breakfast, his stomach wasn't interested in beef ribs, but it was very interested in fruit. Weibo went to wash the peaches and then cut them into small pieces. He had never liked biting into apples or peaches since he was a child, so Ms. would cut them into small pieces for him to eat with a toothpick. This habit had remained with him to this day. Weibo cut fruits like apples, peaches, and pears into small pieces to eat. The fruit plate was newly bought by classmate Xie. It was made of transparent acrylic and looked very high quality. It was the first time Weibo had seen this kind of fruit plate. Looking at it alone, it didn't seem like a fruit plate, but as soon as the fruit was placed on it, it instantly presented a wonderful fruit tension. Carrying the fruit plate, the two went into the study to begin their day's study session. The final exams were at the end of June, and there was a lot of homework to do and courses to speed through this month. However, Weibo had already made a detailed schedule, and everything was still under control. Needless to say, Yumin never considered the problem of whether she would fail a course. She only considered getting first place. Time always passed especially quickly when studying. Before they knew it, the afternoon had passed just like that. At 5 in the afternoon, Weibo ate the exceptionally fragrant clear stewed beef ribs with the sour, sweet, spicy, and fragrant dipping sauce. It was indeed sour, sweet, fragrant, and spicy, a perfect match for the beef ribs. Weibo admired classmate Xie's intuition for cooking, although classmate Xie said she made it after watching a tutorial. But Weibo thought that if he had come across a tutorial for such a strange-tasting recipe, he most likely wouldn't have tried it. After dinner, they continued to study. It wasn't until after 10 o'clock that the two went downstairs to play a bit of badminton. After returning home, they played 2 rounds of PUBG. A glance at the time showed it was already 12 o'clock. How does time pass so quickly? Weibo exclaimed. Yumin strongly agreed. The weekend always passed by in a flash. Monday was the complete opposite. The speed at which time flows is objective. However, humanity's perception of the passage of time is very subjective. Tomorrow was the wretched Monday again, the wretched 8 a.m. class. Sunday night is the time when you least want to sleep, Weibai sighed. Yumin. Then let's not sleep. We can play a game. He was just saying, did student Xie actually want to do it for real? Of course, Weibai wouldn't agree. Sleep. Yumin's tone was full of regret. But I haven't gotten the chicken dinner yet. Weibai? Don't think he didn't know what haven't gotten the chicken dinner yet meant. He was no longer the Weibai of the past. Now, he had a comprehensive grasp and understanding of student Xie's linguistic system. Stop fooling around. Let's sleep. Weibai pressed her head against his chest. Pressed closely against him, student Xie didn't make any other moves, appearing very obedient. Weibai breathed a sigh of relief and closed his eyes. Can't stay up late. Have an 8 a.m. class tomorrow. But just as he closed his eyes, he heard student Xie speaking softly, her tone long and drawn out. A little bird built a nest with grass in a tree by the river. One day, the wind blew the bird's nest into the river. The river god appeared and asked the little bird, "Was it a golden nest or a silver nest that you dropped?" "Guess." How would the little bird answer? Simp soon found out how the little bird answered. Before bed, Wei Bai's voice was leisurely. "Student Xie, where do you get so many tricks?" Simp rested her head on his shoulder. "You don't like it?" "Wei Bai." What man wouldn't like it? But it was already 1 o'clock, and he had an 8 a.m. class tomorrow. An 8 a.m. class. Did anyone still remember that he was a pure and innocent university student? Early Monday morning, Wei Bai was so sleepy he couldn't stop yawning. He kind of understood why from then on, the king did not hold morning court. Probably because he couldn't get up, but a king could skip morning court, but a university student couldn't skip his 8 a.m. class. The 8 a.m. class, a university student's nightmare. Gradually slumping over, Wei Bai could no longer remember how he managed to wake up at 6-something every day in high school, still full of energy. He used to hear that high school was the time when people had the most energy to strive, and he didn't think much of it. Now, he kind of got it. There was a huge difference in physical strength, endurance, and perseverance between university students and high school students, and even a relatively competitive student like him was no exception. Of course, he wasn't like this for every 8 a.m. class. It was just that yesterday, student Xie wanted to know what the little bird said in the end, and he could only use actions to tell her the answer. Sometimes, things were beyond his control. He finally endured through the first class. The second class was English again. Wei Bai decided to skip it and go back to the dorm to sleep. He rarely did such things, but he was really sleepy today. Logically speaking, sleeping at 1 and waking up at 7 shouldn't make him this tired. It was just that after 1 o'clock, Wei Bai was overtired and couldn't fall asleep, staying awake for a long time. What time did he finally fall asleep? He couldn't remember either. Anyway, people have those moments sometimes, sleeping lightly and fitfully, as if they hadn't slept all night. This nap lasted until a little after 12 o'clock. Waking up, Wei Bai saw a duck leg rice on his desk. "Who bought this?" Wei Bai smiled. "Thanks." Zhou Yin immediately took the credit. "Me, I bought it." Wei Bai was a little surprised. Zhou Yin was usually quite careless. He could actually think of bringing him food. Zhou Yin faltered under his questioning gaze. "I bought it after Chower reminded me." Wei Bai nodded. Now, that was normal. "Where's Chower?" Wei Bai asked. Pan Kang's mouth was full of rice. He wanted to eat with Senior Shui Yunxin. Wei Bai was very gratified. "That's good, really." Zhou Yin couldn't understand. Who would want to eat with their boss? All Shui Yunxin cares about day in and day out is data. I take a detour whenever I see her. This is the difference between you and Chower. Wei Bai took the opportunity to PUA. You live in the same dorm. How can your work attitudes be so different? Zhou Yin, cut it out. You're talking to the sales champion about attitude? Wei Bai, I'm a sales champion, right? Zhou Yin, I'm the internet celebrity sales champion. What about it? Wei Bai, wow, you're so amazing. Hearing Zhou Yin mention the internet celebrity thing, he thought of Lin Shanshan again, as Chui Peng gradually handed over the artist to Shui Yunxin. And Chun Mao was at a critical moment. Shui Yunxin's time and energy were simply not enough. Therefore, they hadn't found anyone to shoot and edit for Lin Shanshan, and her account hadn't taken off. The person Mu Chao hired last time from an MCN was all show and no substance. His skills were even worse than Zhou Yan's, and Chui Peng advised him to leave. It seemed that Mu Chao had too few talented people and still needed to recruit and cultivate them. Thinking of this, Wei Bai took the opportunity to chat with Chui Peng about this matter while eating. Unexpectedly, the two of them had the same idea. Chui Peng said that Chun Mao's breakout success had given many people confidence. He had contacted a few people who were fed up with their original companies and was preparing to poach them. Among them was someone in charge of artist publicity who was very good with Douyin. Chui Peng planned to have this person exclusively handle their online influencer division. Wei Bai was very satisfied. Professional matters were best left to professionals. Chui Peng was both professional and well-connected. Wei Bai had no need to worry about Makeo's development at all. Just after finishing his chat with Chui Peng, Wei Bai received a message from Teacher Zhou of the Party Committee Propaganda Department, wanting to schedule a time for an interview. They had previously discussed the interview's direction and script several times, and it was now completely finalized, just waiting to be recorded. The recording would take about an hour or two. After discussing it with teacher Zhou and Jiang Xiang, Wei Bai set the time for 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Once the time was set, Wei Bai adjusted his own schedule. Originally, he didn't have a class during the first period on Wednesday afternoon and had planned to find an empty classroom to study. After setting the time, Wei Bai chatted a bit more with Jiang Xiang. Jiang Xiang had been very anxious lately because the publication of his paper was delayed and it probably wouldn't be out until July. Wei Bai comforted him, saying that July was a better time than June. By then, their collaboration with Huasheng would be more or less finalized, and they could start publicly releasing the news. Besides, a collaboration like this was something that progressed and was finalized along the way. For instance, Huasheng had already opened its database to Lingxi. With the support of a large amount of data, Jiang Xiang was holed up in the lab day in and day out, racing against time to improve the performance stability of the new material. Because he wanted to make the results more impressive before the paper was published, Jiang Xiang and the entire Lingxi team had been exhausted lately. Wei Bai was still a complete rookie on the technical side and couldn't be of much help. He could only clear the path ahead for them. Now that the paper wouldn't be published until July, they had a bit more time. Wei Bai, bro, your health is the most important thing. There are still many big battles ahead. You can't afford to risk your life every time. Jiang Xiang actually understood this principle. It was just that he had worked so hard for so many years and had finally encountered an opportunity with the right time, place, and people, and he really wanted to seize it. Jiang Xiang, I'll take a nap right now. He said that, but he was actually planning to go straight to the lab after finishing his meal. Wei Bai, that's more like it. If you collapse, I can't take your place. Jiang Xiang's motion of shoveling food into his mouth suddenly stopped. That sentence sent a cold sweat through him. All along, he had felt that Wei Bai was incredibly trustworthy, that no matter what happened, Wei Bai could handle it. But he had overlooked the fact that Wei Bai was only a freshman and hadn't even touched the entry-level threshold of the field, technically speaking. As for people like Yu Hagwang and Lu Chong, they were good soldiers, but they could in no way support the entire project on their own. Jiang Xiang slowed down his eating. He had to get some sleep later, some proper sleep. Otherwise, if he collapsed, Lingxi would be in big trouble. Jiang Xiang, I'll definitely sleep. Only then was Wei Bai satisfied. Jiang Xiang was a rare talent, but he worked himself to the bone. If he didn't scare him from time to time, Wei Bai worried the man would skip sleep and meals to stay in the lab day and night. After waking up from a good sleep, eating his fill, arranging his upcoming work, and adjusting his schedule, Wei Bai was revived. He picked up his phone and opened his chat with classmate Xie. Wei Bai decided to be a little mischievous too. Little turtle, miss you so much. Little turtle, oops my bad. The first two words are switched. Classmate Xie didn't reply for a long time. After a few minutes, she finally sent back a meaningful emoji. Wei Bai felt great. So this is how fun it is to be mischievous. No wonder classmate Xie was always so cheeky. It was fun. He'd do it more. He'd do it again in the future. After a deep sleep and finding joy in his own mischievousness, Wei Bai's work and study efficiency in the afternoon was very high. For 2 consecutive days, Wei Bai would be mischievous to varying degrees from time to time. He was finally destroyed during a game of badminton with classmate Xie on Tuesday night. How bad was the beating? By the end, Wei Bai could barely lift his arm. It was because classmate Xie had controlled the pace the entire time, causing him to overexert himself. Wei Bai was heartbroken. Classmate Xie, you mean you've been going easy on me all this time? If she played like this every time, he probably wouldn't have one even once, right? Simp said flatly, not really. She hadn't deliberately let him win. She just hadn't gone all out like she did tonight. Simp discreetly rubbed her tired arm, certain it would be sore tomorrow. Wei Bai accused. Then why did you up the intensity today? Simm's lips curled. You don't know the reason? Wei Bai played dumb. I don't. Simp, Monday noon. Miss me so much. Monday night. Compared to this melody, I prefer a moving vibrato. Tuesday noon. I thought loving me only required heart. I didn't realize it also required effort. With a half smile, Simp paused, then continued. So, tonight, I let you use some effort. Wei Bai expressed that he had indeed used a lot of strength. Under student Xie's dominant control, he had no choice but to. On the badminton court, Wei Bai admitted he had temporarily lost a round. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. Today's shame would be repaid on the weekend. On the bed, on the table, on the sofa. For now, he would avoid her sharp edge and just wait for the weekend. Although one arm was weak, the other was still very strong. Wei Bai wrapped his left arm around student Xie's shoulder and walked towards the dormitory building. Student Xie, is your arm okay? It's fine. I don't believe you. Wei Bai snickered to himself. Although he had been crushed tonight, student Xie must have also paid a huge price. By tomorrow, her right arm would surely be as sore as his. Why was he happy? Shouldn't he be feeling sorry for her? If you have such thoughts, it just means you'll understand once you're in a relationship. When two people are together, sometimes you do feel sorry for them, but other times you definitely take pleasure in their misfortune. The latter is more fun than the former, and a moderate amount is beneficial for promoting a couple's relationship. For example, once before, while he was lost in thought, he threw a newly bought drink into the trash, like it was garbage, and student Xie laughed at him for days. Later, he discovered that student Xie, in a daze one morning, had put her t-shirt on inside out, and he also laughed at her for days. Being in a relationship is like this. It's having a mutual understanding and shy expectations, but it's also lighthearted and fun, like two little kids. Wei Bai thought of Old Wei and Ms. Wu. He had heard from an employee at Old Wei's company that CEO Wei was extremely serious at work, something Wei Bai couldn't even imagine. Because in front of him, Old Wei was a very patient father, and in front of Ms. Wu, he was a husband who loved to goof around. Come to think of it, he would probably grow to love goofing around more and more in the future, right? After all, watching student Xie look a little angry but unable to hold back her laughter was really fun. With this thought, Wei Bai tightened his arm around student Xie. Is this tight enough? Yuman. Wei Bai, do you need it a little tighter? Yuman. No need, thank you. Wei Bai was ecstatic, although he had been crushed tonight. Now, with a flash of inspiration, he had steadily won back around with just 2 short questions. It had to be him. This kid, Wei Bai, had been clever since he was young. The night passed, tiring, painful, yet fun. In the blink of an eye, it was Wednesday. After lunch, Wei Bai went to room 3301 of the administration building. This was the location designated by Teacher Zhou. They were going to record the Alumni Stories interview here today. The classroom's backdrop and lighting design made it look like a professional interview studio. Wei Bai recognized that previous episodes of Alumni Stories had also been recorded here. He arrived early and first looked over the final version of the interview script. The script was written to be very sharp and dramatic, the result of multiple discussions between Wei Bai and Teacher Zhou. He was recording Alumni Stories because he wanted the episode, with the school's endorsement, to become part of Lingxi's promotional matrix. Since it was for promotion, it had to be eye-catching. Many viewers watching interviews often feel that the interviewer's questions are impolite and disrespectful to the interviewee. In reality, this is just a technique, and both parties are perfectly clear about it. Besides, the script only provided a general direction. During the interviewer would suddenly pose difficult questions based on the interviewee's reactions, catching the guest off guard to reveal their true thoughts and achieve the desired program effect. Since Wei Bai had agreed to the interview, he was well prepared. The internet doesn't like pretentious people. He wanted to present his true self within a predetermined narrative framework. A dozen or so minutes later, Teacher Zhou arrived with 2 people who looked like students and introduced them to Wei Bai. One of them Wei Bai had seen in Alumni Stories. It was the school's star host, Li Zheng. The other was the cameraman. They exchanged pleasantries for a while, and then Jiang Xiang also arrived. Jiang Xiang's and Wei Bai's segments were consecutive episodes. Following the timeline of Lingxi's creation, Jiang Xiang's was the first part, and Wei Bai's was the second. But Wei Bai had a class during the second period in the afternoon, so they would record his segment first, then Jiang Xiang's. Jiang Xiang didn't actually need to come this early, but he got nervous in front of the camera and wanted to come watch first to adjust his state of mind. At 1:30 p.m., the interview officially began. Li Zheng, Wei Bai, I hear you're known as the campus beau of the College of Computing and Intelligent Innovation. What do you think of this title? Wei Bai, it's well-deserved. Li Zheng, were you able to pass through the rigorous selection process and join Senior Zhang's team because you're handsome? Wei Bai, that was part of the reason, I suppose. Li Zheng, you're quite narcissistic. Did you use your narcissism to convince Senior Jiang to hand over the team's management rights to you? Wei Bai, not exactly. I relied on my money power. Li Zheng, from what I understand, you invested 100 million, going from Lingxi's employee number 0 to the person in power. Could I say that you made no contribution to Lingxi's early development? Wei Bai, yes. After all, I wasn't even in high school when Lingxi was just an idea. But I can turn that sentence of yours around. I didn't contribute at all to Lingxi's early development, but I'm quite important for its future destiny. Laughs. Li Zheng, what made you think of investing in Lingxi? I heard the project was about to go under at the time. Wei Bai, many reasons. I was the president of the school's volunteer club in high school, and I often went to the orphanage to do charity work. At first, I felt like I was helping others, but later, I found it quite cruel to just deliver some supplies, take videos, and snap photos. Have you ever been to an orphanage? In novels, many protagonists come from orphanages, but in the ones I've seen, they're all children nobody adopts because they have some physical disabilities. Wei Bai. But the most important reason is that my girlfriend lent me 100 million. Otherwise, I only had 1 million. Li Zheng, how do you get your girlfriend to lend you 100 million? Or rather, where can I find a girlfriend who can lend me 100 million? Wei Bai. First, you need to have the ability to pay her back 100 million, or even 1 billion. Li Zheng, and you were certain you had it? Wei Bai, of course. Thanks to Wei Bai's cooperation, the interview was over in just an hour. Afterward, Li Zheng wiped his sweat and said with a smile, interviewing Junior Wei is no easier than interviewing those big shots. The planned scope of the interview was already pushing boundaries, but he hadn't expected Wei by himself to be even more open, not shying away from any topic and even deliberately making some controversial statements. The interview had left Li Zheng mentally drained. Wei Bai smiled. Although I've never been interviewed by others, I feel that your professionalism, senior, is on par with those famous talk show hosts. Li Zheng also smiled. Haven't I become famous too? Wei Bai, senior, are you interested in becoming even more famous? As he spoke, he took out a business card of Shui Yunxin from his bag. Here's the thing, I also have an entertainment company that handles self-media business. Zhou Yin, the current internet celebrity at our university, was incubated by this company. If you're interested, senior, you can get in touch. Li Zheng was even more amused. So that's why Shui Yunxin has been so busy I haven't seen her around. Turns out you poached her. He had also considered getting into self-media, but after researching things like video completion rates and the first 3 seconds rule, he felt he didn't have the energy to do it all by himself. And he was afraid of being scammed if he signed with an MCN. So, even though several MCN companies had contacted him, he had never agreed. Now, however, it might be worth looking into. All right, I'll take a look. Li Zheng accepted the business card. Zhou Mingyuan was stunned. Wei Bai had another entertainment company. This kid was only a freshman. He had already started 2 companies, and weren't the business scopes of these 2 companies too far apart? Initially, when Principal Gan had asked him to invite Wei Bai to record alumni stories, he had felt Wei Bai wasn't quite qualified. Now, it seemed he had interviewed a big shot in his larval stage. There was still some time before his 4 o'clock class, so Wei Bai went over the script with Jiang Xiang. Just be authentic, like when Sun Xiuxiu came to interview you all. Jiang Xiang. You know my personality is very dull. Wei Bai, how is it dull? You clearly have the air of a tycoon. Jiang Xiang. Back when I was looking for investment everywhere, investors told me I had a mild personality, that my words lacked appeal, and that I didn't have the aura of an elite. Wei Bai. Once Lingxi succeeds, they'll say you have a steady temperament, that you're inscrutable, that you have hidden depths, and that you have the air of a tycoon at such a young age. Jiang Xiang, really? Wei Bai, when you succeed, everything you do is right. My dad told me a story about a 60-year-old man who started a business. At the time, everyone said he was too old and couldn't keep up with the times. But when he succeeded, those same people said that this industry required someone with 30 or 40 years of experience. Jiang Xiang's interest was piqued. I think I've come across that story too. Wei Bai. In the story of Fan Jin's success, What did Butcher Who say again? I have always said that this worthy son-in-law of mine is a man of great learning, high character, and fine appearance. Even those masters from the Zhang and Zhou mansions in the city do not have such a respectable appearance as my son-in-law. Wei Bai, I think once Lingxi is launched, Senior Jiang, you'll probably be as handsome as Panin. Jiang Xiang burst out laughing. What about you then? Me? Wei Bai was full of confidence. By then, I'll definitely be promoted from the department hottie to the campus hottie. Zhou Mingyuan listened to their ridiculous conversation, but on second thought, it seemed to make a certain kind of sense. For example, their famous alumnus, a renowned entrepreneur in the semiconductor industry, was now called handsome by many people online, who hailed him as the most handsome entrepreneur in Huaxia. Heaven knows that alumnus used to be nicknamed Shoehorn Scholar in school, but who even brings that up anymore? It just goes to show, as long as a person is successful, even a shoehorn-shaped face can become handsome. If he, Zhou Mingyuan, were to become the president of High University someday, he would definitely be the most handsome president too. After some small talk, the interview officially began. Li Zheng was very professional, his attitude toward Jiang Xiang completely different from his attitude toward Wei Bai. The first few questions were like a chat between old friends, gentle and reassuring. Jiang Xiang, already relaxed by Wei Bai's earlier words, was guided by Li Zheng and quickly got into the zone. Wei Bai watched for a moment, felt reassured, gave Zhou Mingyuan a look, and left quietly. He was still a student and had to get back to class. The last class was physics lab, too, a course Wei Bai really liked. For this course, lab performance, discussion sections, and homework accounted for 70% of the grade, while the final written exam was 30%. As it was nearing the end of the semester, the teacher had scheduled a special class to go over common problems and lab reports. When Wei Bai arrived at room 2105, the previous class hadn't been dismissed yet. He waited at the door for a few minutes as students from inside filed out. Wei Bai. Hearing his name called, Wei Bai looked up and saw Song Liusi. Wei Bai pretended not to hear and lowered his head to look at his phone again. Song Liusi bit her lip and walked in front of him. She hadn't expected to run into Wei Bai here either, but it was a rare chance to speak with him alone, and she wouldn't let it go, even with his cold attitude. Wei Bai, has something happened with Cao Cao recently? Song Liusi asked. I feel like he's not the same as before. Wei Bai, I don't know. Please believe me. I don't mean any harm, Song Liusi said urgently. I'm just worried that Cao Cao might get involved with some shady people. He's so naive, he could easily be deceived. Wei Bai smiled. I don't know. The answer to any question was I don't know. No comment. He didn't want to say another word. The classroom emptied. Wei Bai walked around Song Liusi and went inside. Unexpectedly, Song Liusi followed him in. I think we should have a proper talk. I know you might have a bad impression of me because of some misunderstandings, but you're Cao Cao's good friend, and I'm his sister. Shouldn't we put aside our prejudices and be friends? Wei Bai considered himself a good-tempered person, but Song Liusi was truly annoying. He dropped his bag on the desk, sat down, put on his headphones, and started watching videos. He knew that if he engaged with her, she would only become more persistent. If he ignored her, she'd be the one who couldn't stand it and would leave on her own. Song Liusi had never met anyone as cold as Wei Bai. Now Ning Buochao doesn't buy me breakfast, doesn't take good photos, and takes forever to reply to messages, she thought. He's probably been corrupted by Wei Bai. She had to warn Ning Buochao to be wary of people like Wei Bai. Hang around a refined egoist like him for too long, and you might even lose the ability to love. After blaming Wei Bai, the changes in Ning Buochao all seemed to make sense. Song Liusi felt she had found the reason, but she was still angry about Wei Bai's attitude. No boy had ever ignored her like this. So what if he has a stunningly beautiful girlfriend? What's there to be so arrogant about? Song Liusi thought that with a personality like Wei Bai's, Simp would probably break up with him one day. Thinking this, Song Liusi felt much better. She shot Wei Bai a fierce glare and left the classroom. With his headphones on, watching videos of Supernova training camp, Wei Bai didn't even notice Song Liusi leave. It was just a small interruption. He wouldn't waste his energy, emotions, or time on such an irrelevant person. Soon, The other students started to arrive. Wei Bai had saved seats, and his dorm mates sat down next to him. After a moment's thought, he relayed what had just happened to Ningbo Chao. He recounted it objectively, not adding or subtracting a single word, without any personal commentary. Ningbo Chao was apologetic. She didn't bother you, did she? Wei Bai, not really. Actually, I'm sure she did. Ningbo Chao paused, then said, soon. It will all be taken care of soon. Wei Bai smiled. Congratulations. Ningbo Chao's face flushed. It's not time for congratulations yet. After handling a relationship, he would greet tomorrow as a better version of himself. And tomorrow is like a cloud, still untouchable for now. This line was from one of Wei Bai's songs, and Ningbo Chao felt it perfectly expressed his current mood. Zhou Yan didn't catch what the two were talking about, and thought Wei Bai was bad-mouthing Song Liusi. Speaking of which, he got excited. I saw Song Liusi eating with a guy in the cafeteria yesterday, and the guy was even putting food on her plate. I don't even want to say it. Is she raising fish here? Chower, you should just break it off with her. Wait for me to introduce you to someone good. Ningbo Chao smiled. Don't talk nonsense. It never started, so how can we break it off? Since it never started, then who she eats with and whose food she takes is her freedom. Zhou Yan rolled his eyes. The freedom you're giving is too much. Ningbo Chao said seriously. Actually, I'm very grateful to her. Zhou Yan, grateful for what? Grateful that she ate your food, drank your drinks, and PUA'd you. Grateful that she taught me a lot, Ningbo Chao said. Zhou Yan didn't want to hear it anymore. Come on, if you met someone good, she could teach you a lot more. Ningbo Chao smiled and said no more. He was truly grateful to Song Liusi. Grateful that the end of this pursuit was finding himself. He began to have things he wanted to do, to have joys and sorrows that didn't revolve around Song Liusi, to have a desire to know a wider world, and to have a desire to make friends with kind and interesting people. As for whether that kind and interesting person would love him back, that was still very important to him, and he would work hard for it. But it wasn't that important either. He would make her feel pressured because of it. Ultimately, a person must learn to love themselves before they are worthy of being loved by others. The teacher in this class was talking about common problems in lab reports, such as font requirements, the position of picture titles, and how only variable symbols could be italicized. The teacher was very energetic, going through dozens of PowerPoint slides on common points deductions. After finally finishing this tedious class, he had to go back at night to make up a lab report. Fortunately, it wasn't required to be handwritten, otherwise it would have been truly exhausting. As the end of the term approached, even Zhou Yan was seriously catching up on his homework, and a rare atmosphere of learning filled the dormitory. It wasn't until after 9 o'clock that everyone was more or less finished, and Zhou Yan began to complain. We're already in college, and there's still so much homework. Weibo nodded. I am Weibo, and I propose to abolish the homework system for college students. Reason 1. Will student Zhou Yan please speak? Zhou Yan coughed twice and immediately said, Reason 1. We college students are very busy. We have a lot of classes every day. We have to listen carefully in class, and we have to participate in various activities after class. We also have to squeeze in time for dating. For a half-hour lunch break, we can't even eat with our girlfriends. Weibo, sufficient reason. Reason 2, will student Ningbo Chao please speak? Homework for professional courses is one thing, but group assignments for filler courses are meaningless, Ningbo Chao said. Often the teacher doesn't lecture, but just has groups present, and the group presentations are just reading from a PowerPoint. Weibo, very sufficient reason. Reason 3, will student Pan Kong please speak? Pan Kong, I think doing homework is pretty good. There isn't too much less than in high school. Weibo, insufficient reason, overruled. Zhou Yan, traitor. Ningbo Chao, did you guys have time to do a lot of homework in high school? Pan Kong scratched his head. Anyway, it was never ending. In comparison, I think college is so blissful. If you put it that way, Zhou Yan held up his phone horizontally. Then college is indeed blissful. If you made me repeat high school, I'd rather die. Ningbo Chao recalled for a moment. I wouldn't want to either. Weibo, although college is blissful, if I could repeat high school, starting from the day students yet transferred, we could go to school together, do homework together, eat together, and go home together. That wouldn't be bad, right? Yeah. Isn't that describing the present? Yes, the present is the best. Besides, if I went back to the past, could two people go back together? If not, wouldn't student Sia have no memory of the 2 years we spent together? He couldn't bear to lose the shared memories with student Sia to go back to the past. So, when people are happy, they don't want to go back to the past, right? Weibo said firmly. I wouldn't want to either. College is still better, Zhou shouted. Who's in for some chicken? I'm in. An hour later, Weibo posted on his moments. My teammate runs when he sees people, goes down when people come, has bullets in his gun, but no one in his sights. KD2. 56. Any bots that can't be beaten are handed over to him. He gets them every single time. It was more than half an hour before Zhou saw it. He let out a scream. Weibo, you little troll. Weibo, how did you know I was talking about you? Zhou one-on-one. Let's go one-on-one if you have the guts. Weibo, no. Zhou, hey, are you scared? Weibo, yeah, I'm afraid you'll have a meltdown. Zhou, aha. Weibo. Anyone who's been to college knows that the dormitory isn't always so calm and gentle. Sometimes wars break out. These are just the little spices of life. Also, one-on-ones are actually pretty fun. Verbal provocations are a must from beginning to end, followed by a flurry of punches after the kill. Very exciting. So, did Weibo duel with Zhou today? No. It was a one-sided beatdown, not very interesting. Chapter 466, right? Huh. After finishing the interview on Wednesday afternoon, Weibo gave Li Zheng a business card. He didn't expect to see Li Zheng at Mu Chao Culture on Saturday. Li Zheng had come to the company to get a feel for the situation and happened to arrive just as the agent Chui Peng had poached from his former company started. This agent was a woman in her 30s named Fei Wenxian. She would be in charge of the online influencer side of the business. Weibo introduced himself to Fei Wenxian, exchanged a few pleasantries with Li Zheng, and then went into the studio to work. Classmate Xie was aiming for first place on his finals and was studying at home today, so he came to work alone. He had to finish his songwriting task this week, as he also needed to cram for the exam week at the end of the month. Putting down his bag, Weibo sat at the familiar piano and tried playing a few melodies, all fragments of inspiration he had recently jotted down. Soon he was in the zone. Outside the studio, Fei Wenxian said to Chui Peng, I didn't expect him to be so young. Chui Peng, didn't I tell you he's only a college freshman? Fei Wenxian, hearing about it and seeing it in person are two different things. Although she was mentally prepared, she still felt a little uneasy seeing that her boss was so young. On second thought, although the boss of Mu Chao was Weibo, the management authority was completely in Chui Peng's hands. She had worked with Chui Peng for many years and knew his style very well. Chui Peng was someone who focused on the big picture and delegated the small stuff. As long as the artist produced results, everything else was a minor detail. Fei Wenxian had had enough of the ravages of corporate culture. What she needed most was to work with people as an equal. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come to Mu Chao. Brother Chui, are you sure I can have full authority over this part of the business? Fei Wenxian confirmed again. None of the bosses will be micromanaging? Chui Peng, I'm sure. Micromanage? From Chui Peng's perspective, Weibo couldn't wait for someone to take charge so that he wouldn't have to worry about it all. Currently, the section Chui Yinxin was in charge of had been basically defined as the idle economy, and she also needed to plan for those eliminated from Supernova. Chui Peng himself had limited energy. He had to manage the company and personally act as the agent for the two divas, Wu Ruxin and Yu Li. He was already stretched thin, doing the work of several people. The remaining assistants were not up to the task. If it weren't for the lack of manpower, with High University as a talent pool, the MCN sector wouldn't have remained so stagnant. Now, things were better. With his old colleague Fei Wenxian in place, this area of business finally had someone dedicated to it. At this moment, it was a case of a pillow arriving just as they were getting sleepy. They both saw each other as the solution to their problems. Fei Wenxian said she could start work today. As it happened, Chui Yinxin had arranged to meet with Li Zheng. Fei Wenxian talked with Li Zheng for over an hour, and Li Zheng agreed to sign on the spot. This level of efficiency and pace left Chui Yinxin stunned. She recalled when she signed Zhou Yin and the others. She had to introduce the company, take them out to eat, and finally let them go home to think it over. Compared to Sister Qian, she felt like a complete rookie. Chui Peng looked at her. Watch and learn. Shui Yunxin. Brother Chui, why do I feel like Sister Qian has more style than you? Chui Peng coughed twice. We specialize in different areas. Your brother Chui here is good at snatching up resources. Look at the performance opportunities and commercial deals Sister Wu has. How many singers at her level can get these kinds of resources? Yunxin, your brother hasn't been coasting in this industry for all these years for nothing. Shui Yunxin was very impressed. Then what about Sister Qian? What's her specialty? She's best at creating distinctive personal branding, Chui Peng said. Isn't your Lin Shanshan a tough case? In her hands, she'll definitely be able to identify her unique traits and build a precise brand around them. Back in the day, she was the one who created Ko Xiaogu's nation's little sister image. Shui Yunxin sighed. I still have so much to learn. Chui Peng was quite pleased with Shui Yunxin. How long have you been in the business? Take your time. Shui Yunxin. Brother Chui, I've never asked. How did you meet the boss? Chui Peng. We met while morning jogging. Back then, he and his girlfriend always used to jog together. Girlfriend? Shui Yunxin asked, puzzled. Since when did Sister Wu have a girlfriend? Chui Peng glanced at her. Who told you the big boss was Sister Wu? Had this kid misunderstood something? Shui Yunxin, huh? If it's not Sister Wu, then who is it? Gui Bing, Weibo. Shui Yunxin, who? Chui Peng said flatly, Weibo. Shui Yunxin's eyes widened. Holy shit. Chui Peng, why so surprised? Shui Yunxin, no, how old is he? Our company... He started his business after graduating from high school. Chui Peng's reaction was much bigger than Shui Yunxin's when he first found out, but now he appeared particularly calm. He released a few hit songs right away, Spring Wind Slumbers and a song with no name, and founded Mu Chao culture at that time. Back then, I wanted to sign Sister Wu, but he roped me in instead. Shui Yunxin couldn't recover for a long time. No wonder. No wonder Wei Bo always meddled in the company's business, and Brother Chui acted as if it were normal. She thought he was the crown prince getting some experience, but it turned out Wei Bo was her big boss. Shui Yunxin. So, you're saying a famous agent like you, brother, was roped in by a student who just finished his college entrance exams. Chui Peng. Well, aren't you, the #1 errand runner of Haida, also roped in? Shui Yunxin. How can that be the same? And why does the title #1 errand runner of Haida sound so cringy now? After Chui Peng's joke, Shui Yunxin accepted the fact that her boss was younger than her and went back to work. She had to organize the information on Zhou Yin and Lin Shanshan to send to Fei Wenqian. Oh right, and Ning Buqiao's. Ning Buqiao also belonged to the MCN business line. Just as she was organizing the materials, a message came from Ning Buqiao. Ning Buqiao, Senior, I'm coming to the company at noon. Want to have lunch together? Shui Yunxin, sure. Shui Yunxin, I'll introduce you to the new agent, Sister Qian. She'll be in charge of your business from now on. The smile on Ning Buqiao's lips immediately fell unconsciously. Does this sentence mean that he will have no more work-related interactions with Senior Shui in the future? Is that so? But he quickly adjusted his mentality. Although there are no work interactions, they're still part-time colleagues at the same company. Besides, he's not working so hard just for his senior. He likes making videos himself. He likes getting recognition for the things he edits. He likes the likes, comments, and saves. Ning Buqiao. Okay, should I ask Zhou Yin to come along? Shui Yunxin. It's better if you can come together. Shui Yunxin. Sister Qian is here. For now on, you guys are the regular army. Ning Buqiao. Senior is doing a great job too. Shui Yunxin, right? Ha! Seeing this, right? Ha! The corners of Ning Buqiao's mouth curved up again. At noon, Ning Buqiao and Zhou Yin came to the company. Wei Bo didn't have lunch with them, but ate the takeout that classmate Xia ordered for him. After all, there wasn't much good food outside the company. After lunch, Wei Bo continued to work. At 4 in the afternoon, he finished his work. Now, with all the talents in place at Mu Chao, it has gradually transformed from a grassroots team to a proper company. Besides writing songs, Wei Bo had delegated all the work related to Mu Chao, and he felt much more relaxed. From this, it can be seen that he was not a workaholic, but was forced to take on too much work due to the lack of manpower in the early stages of his business. In short, Wei Bo was ready to get off work. When he left, Ning Buiqiao and Zhou Yin hadn't left yet. The two of them were kept behind by Fei Wenxian for individual heart-to-heart talks to get to know them. Wei Bo said goodbye to Zhou Yin, who had just come out of the conference room, and left happily. Zhou Yin, why do I hate seeing him more relaxed than me so much? Ning Buiqiao, he will definitely not be more relaxed than you. Zhou Yin was someone who even saved his socks to throw into the washing machine at home. People lazier than Zhou Yin were really rare. It was Ning Buiqiao's turn to enter the conference room. Before, he had never felt that Mu Chao culture had any system or management. But now he felt it. As soon as he entered the conference room, he was intimidated by Fei Wenxian's powerful aura. Even though they had lunch together at noon, and she was very kind during the meal, seeing her now, she felt like a high school head teacher. At this moment, Ning Buiqiao suddenly felt that he had truly entered the cruel workplace. When Wei Bo got home, he talked to classmate Xie about Fei Wenxian. The importance of talent is self-evident, he sighed. When I saw Sister Qian, it was as if I saw the rise of Mu Chao culture's MCN, and a lot of money was flowing towards me. Simp Yuman, is she that amazing? Wei Bo, some people just look very capable. Simp Yuman, but you're even more amazing. You are her boss. Wei Bo smiled. I was just lucky. More than that, Simp Yuman said seriously. Mu Chao culture is a company built entirely on your personal musical talent. Wei Bo, musical talent? Actually, he used to think he was quite talented, but now that he has written too many catchy songs, he can't seem to find the feeling he had when he wrote a song with no name. Classmate Xie, do you think it's very dangerous for me to keep doing commercialized creation like this? Wei Bo asked. Simp Yuman thought for a moment. A singer must first be seen before anything else can be discussed. Besides, commercial creation doesn't mean it lacks artistic value. Wei Bai smiled. Maybe it's because I'm a bit tired from using templates all day. I've written high-quality songs too, for Ms. Wu and for you. But creatively, I'm really not that satisfied with myself. Simp Yuman had her own logic. Bye-bye. It's because you set your standards too high. Wei Bai, huh? Do I? Yes, Simp Yuman nodded. You have to be first in exams, first in badminton, and as an online singer, you compare yourself to professionals. You're only a freshman, and you're already tackling some of Ling Xi's technical challenges. Simp Yuman looked at him, her voice gentle and full of comfort. You're already amazing. I've never met anyone more amazing or better than you. So, can you relax a little? Wei Bai was taken aback. Simp Yuman opened her arms and held him like she would her little turtle plushie. We're only freshmen. Wei Bai buried his head in her warm embrace. Huh, what just happened? Was he just overthinking things? And then the great, gentle, and lovely Miss Xie comforted him. Yes, that's what happened. Wei Bai felt genuinely comforted. To have achieved so much as a freshman, wasn't he already a top performer? So, what's a small setback in creativity? Besides, it wasn't really a setback. Thinking back, the melody he wrote today was quite catchy. It might even go viral. As for whether it was art or not, Wei Bai remembered a wish in his heart. When Ling Xi reached a stable period like Mu Chao, he wanted to make a game. In this game, there would be a girl shrouded in mist. There would also be some of the music he truly wanted to make, sung by him and Miss Xie. That would be the real love song he wrote for Miss Xie. Wei Bai was easily comforted. His mood returned to a stable state with a hint of quiet happiness. It was almost dinner time, and he pulled Miss Xie along to the neighborhood supermarket to buy groceries. They were only home on weekends and sometimes ate out, so they often bought just enough for one meal. Just as they arrived at the supermarket, Simp Yuman received a call from Hu Jingxian. Are you two cooking tonight? Can I come over for dinner? I'll bring an 82 La Fight. Simp Yuman, no. Hu Jingxian, look up. Simp Yuman looked up and saw Hu Jingxian waving happily at them from inside the supermarket. Simp Yuman. She had no choice but to walk over to Hu Jingxian. Hu Jingxian was very happy. I knew you two were here to buy groceries. I just checked. The chicken looks pretty good. How about we make some chicken soup tonight? Simp Yuman didn't want chicken soup. If they had to cook, she'd rather roast the chicken. Wei Bai smiled. I want to have chicken soup too. A good chicken soup is incredibly fragrant, and the chicken meat inside is delicious. Siam Yuman, fine, we'll make chicken soup. Hua Jingxian walked to her side. Same old rules. I'll pay for the ingredients, and I'll do the dishes. Siam Yuman, And so, a supermarket trip for two became a trip for three. They bought a black-boned chicken, a bunch of greens, 2 eggplants, and a block of tofu, and the three of them headed home. A little over 40 minutes later, they were eating black-boned chicken soup, bok choy with oyster sauce, braised eggplant, and a mapo tofu. Hua Jingxian took a sip of the chicken soup, utterly satisfied. It's still Man-Man's cooking. The home-style dishes outside just don't taste the same. Looks like I'll have to find a boyfriend who can cook in the future. Siam Yuman, what you need is a chef. Hua Jingxian, that's true. She lived quite simply in Haicheng, not even hiring a private chef. She only had a cleaning lady who came once a week. As she thought this, she looked at Siam Yuman again. This one was even more frugal than her, no longer caring for designer bags, carrying either a school bag or a canvas tote all day. Man, Hua Jingxian sighed. I feel like our lives are becoming more and more ordinary. Siam Yuman, is being ordinary not good? Hua Jingxian paused, then smiled. It's good, of course it's good. Life is life, and a career is a career. In her career, she wanted magnificent waves, but in life, this kind of ordinary 3 dishes in a soup lifestyle was what felt comfortable. Listening to them talk, Wei Bai suddenly remembered something. Sister Xian, how is that Song Lishing doing now? Hua Jingxian, oh, I forgot to tell you. His brother gave him a cotton planting project, somewhere in Central Africa. He's probably busy clearing wasteland right now, I guess. Wei Bai had just remembered and asked casually. But Hua Jingxian started chatting. I heard that Jiang Xiang's ex-girlfriend who leaked the story was deported back, and Jiang Xiang has already sued her.